So 6:10.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 3, 2, 1.
Right.
Welcome, everyone. We are here today for the first episode of Game Day Live here at DFI46. My name is Chris Woods. For those of you who might not know me, my co-host, the famous Sebastian.
Thank you.
And we have with us our first guest for the episode today, Mike McGettigan of McGettigan Consulting. Hey, you Mike.
Good afternoon, Chris.
So we've got this funny thing since I've come working for the company now. The owner of my company, Joe Drumheller, spent the first couple of years going to these conferences, and everyone will be like, "Where's Joe? I used to work with him before." And over time, we've kind of wound down, and now it's kind of evolved into, "Oh, Chris, you're here. I used to work with Chris and Mike, my friend Mike, right? A long time ago." So, Mike, why don't we start? Tell us a little bit about your company, your background, everything.
We don't have that much time. But no,
We have a complete slide this morning about it.
yes.
Actually, yeah, you put
Yeah.
like all the companies. But yeah, go ahead.
We have it there. That's right.
Just
Chris
some
would've
people
known
didn't
how to
show
take
up. Yeah,
shows,
exactly,
right?
exactly. Some people are catching up a little late on what happened this morning, but that's all right.
So, but he knows. He knows the story. So I'm originally from Philadelphia. Graduated from Drexel '95 with my bachelor's, '97 with my master's. Worked for Tensar. Worked for Langen in several offices. Then went to DC. Worked with the Eddy Group for a couple of years. Came back out to Vegas. Been out in Vegas for the last 16 years. Working for Langen, Terracon, and then I've been on my own for the last 6.5 years, and it's just great. It's just awesome.
Do you have to submit your own timesheets to yourself?
No, in fact, someone did approach me less than a year after I started my own firm, and they said, "Hey, would you want to come work for us? We know you're having a great time. Would you want to come work for us?" And I'm like, "Do I have to do a timesheet?" They're like, "Yes, you have to do a timesheet." And I'm like, $300,000. Minimum. That's like base to do a timesheet. So no, I don't do timesheets.
You may be liberated someday from that. I mean, I know you
Not
still
yet,
probably have
not yet.
timesheets,
I still do that. I still do that. So yeah, so I guess Mike, let's start talking about the keynote lecture that you have this morning. I was very impressed. I mean, as you saw it with the questions that I did, but I guess tell us a little bit how this happened, how you were contacted. I mean, obviously, you opened the conference today, so it's a big responsibility. How that happened, how that came about. Or you just have friends.
It seems I have friends in just the right places.
Well, we're opening the podcast with you, so definitely you have friends in high places. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's that's what 20 plus years in the industry will do, provided you do good work, right?
Yes.
And so I like to think I've done good work, and that transferred. And so when Tim is our conference chairman, was setting it up, and he reached out to all of his people like, "Hey, who would be a great keynote speaker to talk about Vegas and what's going on in Vegas?" And all the Keller people all went McGettigan. And it was just like, and so I called them all up and I'm like, did you really? And they're like, "Oh yeah." It was like universal. Like all the emails came back in the company on the West Coast saying, "Nope, Mike's the guy." So that's it. Keller likes me.
It was a great presentation, I have to say. I think you definitely brought the flavor of the opening keynote lecture on DFI events, which is somebody that knows the area, the geology, the foundations. And it goes into the technical part, but it goes beyond that because, for many of us that are not from here, it's nice to come see these buildings. And then you kind of give us the explanation of saying, well, when this started, I don't know, let's say in the 50s, 70s, the spread footings were used, right? And this was the technique. And you even went and said half KSF was the typical value. And then you kind of show the evolution of different systems. So it's pretty good. I mean, I remember very clear, like Chicago was very similar. And yeah, like every city that we tend to go, like New Orleans, National Harbor last year was kind of similar in that sense. So yeah, I think you did a really good job on that. And I hear the questions were really good too. And, you know, you kind of replied to that. So.
Yep, the questions were good. It was actually interesting. One of the gentlemen who formerly worked at Anderson Drilling, who did the foundations at Trump, we were talking about it, and he's like, yes, after Mandalay Bay, he's like, the market just switched here, and he goes, and we were just making money like no one's business, because no one really knew what had happened at Mandalay Bay. Everyone knew that there was just a problem, and the owners didn't want to be in the papers. Yeah. So, and geotechnically, OSAL hadn't started doing a lot of load tests at yet, right? They just started right at 2000, I think, is when OSAL became really popular.
Yeah.
And so we were behind the curve a little bit because we were doing massive buildings, right? And massive towers, and they're all on deep foundations. And so he's like, yeah, from the contractor side, we were making hand over fist money for a while until everyone kind of got it figured out. But even then, you look at some of the designs today, and it's like some people are still doing their first job with the 5 or 0.5 KSF skin friction. Yeah. It's just like, what?
Which is insane. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. Cool. Now, one part that really captivated me from what you were saying is like the evolution of different systems. And I think you kind of focus on the CFAs as, you know, having like a market here that develop little by little.
Yep.
I mean, do you see any other technology? I mean, and you kind of talk a little bit about this, but do you see any other technology that may have like a future here? I mean, you touch a little bit into the ground improvement, that basically saying, well, it's like a micropile but just without the bar, right? But I mean, do you?
Well, micropile that's not attached to the mat.
That is not attached, exactly. But
right.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously there is other ways of ground improvement with, you know, like ram aggregate piers and concrete and all that. But do you see any other technology that may be coming to the area that could revolutionize a little bit, or you think that that's it? Like everything seems to be working. Why mess up with that?
Well, okay, you bring up a good point. When we had the CFAs, so the one thing I didn't state, the CFAs at Allegiant Stadium were pre-drilled, even though they likely didn't need to pre-drill them.
Yeah.
And I have no idea why they pre-drilled at Allegiant Stadium. I didn't say that during the presentation.
Oh, no, you say it for the Trump Tower, right?
No. At Wynn they were pre-drilled. In 2003, the CFAs were pre-drilled at Wynn.
Okay.
Then, but they, and here's the funny twist to that story. They pre-drilled at Allegiant Stadium, which has softer caliche. When they moved up to the Sphere, which has harder caliche, they didn't pre-drill. I sometimes you can't get your head around why either contractors or engineers do what they do sometimes. Do I see anything else coming? Well, you never know. Like every site is dependent, right? And so if as long as the caliche isn't, because even where the Sphere is, the caliche's in that 8,000 PSI strength range for uncompressive strength. And so they can work there. But there's sites where you really get super, super hard, and just why? Like there seems to be little benefit to it. What I do like with the CFAs and the technology in them now is really, I don't even need to inspect the shaft. Like you just watch, get the readout after it's done at the end of the day and say, okay, well, here was this crowd pressure going down. So, okay, it got hard here, hard here, hard here. Yeah, that's where we expected all the hard spots. And then here was his grout rate coming back in. Here's withdrawal rate. Okay, he didn't withdraw more than he pumped. So we have a clean CFA. So it's great. Like, so that it makes checking the inspection work easy. And that's what I love. And you just don't have that in a drilled shaft. So I'm kind of biased to the CFA right now.
So shift gears here. Like I mentioned, you and I go back 20 years. We both cut our teeth with the same company, starting out as field engineers.
Best way to learn.
We've taken different career paths.
Wait a minute, you guys started around the same time? No way.
He was a couple years ahead of me, but yeah, we're
only a year.
You are very well kept, man, friend. You look very young.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Not saying that you're old,
I
but-
don't have-
Yeah.
I don't have nearly
That
as much
was
right
saying that I'm old.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's
And that's only
you are
and-
experienced. This guy is like 25, right? I mean,
he acts
just
like
the
it.
way he is.
Yeah. No, I took the extended route through school. Chris was very studious. In fact, you should have seen the resume they got for this guy at Langen with the GPA he had. It was just amazing until they realized they switched him up, but that's a whole nother story.
That is entirely
We may have time for that, but
We may have time. But
we may
don't
need
have-
to ask
we don't have
Jessica.
White
If
Claw.
yes, we need the White Claw or something. But hey, White Claw is not sponsoring this, so we need
So
to
that-
stay away from that.
So that's why I was
Glacier
only
water.
a year ahead of Chris at being at Langen, because I went down to Atlanta for a year to work at Tensar, and I was also a couple years late
Yeah.
coming out of school age-wise, which helped. Again, I think that helped me a little bit because I was a little immature in school. But that's why we're close in experience.
Right.
Okay.
So, my question is, we've taken these different routes. You're still on the consultant side.
Unfortunately,
All right. I'm now on the contractor side. But, if you had to just kind of, the whole base that we've got, seasoned people listening, we're going to have some younger engineers listening.
Mhm.
Starting your own firm is
Oh.
no small feat, and I know that. So, if you had to sum up in a couple points, man, what have in the 6.5 years, like you said, of your own firm, I mean, what's been your biggest challenges in starting your own firm?
Zero challenges.
Wow.
In all honesty, I have such an excellent network all around me
Okay. Yep.
that I had people that I'd met way outside of industry that when I first started was getting ready to first start my business, they were like, hey, we'll help you through the whole LLC process. We'll help you through the whole registration process. So like that, the business brain damage of starting it up,
But then also the client base.
but the client base, thank you, Langen, and thank you, Terracon, for 10 years in town of paying me to
And we
do
have
all the
Terracon
business
right there.
development, for paying me to do for paying me to do my own business development such that I had the network here. But I also delivered on the projects, right?
Right.
Like if
Yeah.
you can have a great network,
Yeah, but
and if you don't do good
you're
work,
gonna collapse.
people
Yeah.
aren't going to come to you.
People are going to know.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so here's the one of the two stories of when I was considering going out, and I had gone to meet with a client at Trump Tower, and I was like, hey man, he's like, you're thinking of going out on your own? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, are you going to come with me if I go out on my own? And he's like, I'll go with you anywhere. And this
wow.
was the guy who ran West Coast for Pro Lodges. And so he's like, and I had a number of conversations that were exactly like that. Like, hey, do you work with me because of me? Or do you work with me because of the firm I'm at? And they're like, well, we followed you from Langen to Terracon, so we'll follow you wherever you go,
Yeah.
man.
Got it.
And it was like, all right. And the funny thing is, there's out of those 5 people, I really haven't done work for 3 of them in the last 2 years now.
Okay.
But work evolves, and
Other
I have
clients
a
start
whole
coming.
other set of clients now that are
Sure.
all so. But it's been so much fun. It's
So I mean, maybe I used the wrong word, challenge, but like that would. It sounds like that would be your biggest piece of advice. What's been led to your success is that you didn't just kind of take a blind leap, right? That you had kind of this
Like
you
a
had
like a
landing
support,
spot
like a
Yeah.
already.
yeah. You have to be smart. You have to be an engineer about it, right?
Right.
So use our strengths. We analyze data, or we collect data.
Yeah.
We analyze data, and then we make a decision. And so how it actually started, and this is another fun story. There's a civil engineer out here who wanted to hire me because she knew Langen's model, civil, geotech, environmental.
Yeah.
She's like, why don't you join up with me and we'll be like, and I think it was a positioning to actually get bought out, but that's a whole
Right.
other story. That's only hypothesis. And so we went through the whole negotiation. I'm like, well, here's my number. And she's like, well, that doesn't make sense from the numbers you've been giving me. And I'm like, well, let me do my research. And being that I had access to everything I did at Terracon for 5 years, I culled out all the other work that wasn't mine. I just looked at my work over 5 years. And so that was 2010 to 2015. And so we divide by 5, and I'm like, ooh, like, yeah, obviously I'm not an entrepreneur. I can't do this. And then I'm like, wait a second. 10 and 11 were the 2 worst years ever in Vegas.
Right.
Let's call out 10, call out 11. Let's look at 12, 13, 14, divide by 3. I'm going out on my own.
Right.
Like, and the wife was nervous, and I'm like, the numbers, like 3 years track record. And I have even more people that want to work with me when I go out on my own. So we did. And so, yeah, it was just simple math, man. Is just engineered my way into it.
Awesome. That's an awesome story.
Excellent. Well, look, we appreciate you taking time to join us today.
Yeah, no, and everything you're doing on the conference, obviously, I mean, being on the
No, thank
organizing
you.
part and opening with the keynote lecture, which I think you did a really good job, and it was a pleasure to listen.
Well,
to
thank
listen
you.
to
You
that
can
and-
look at it later and let me know what you think. I expect a full critique.
Yes, correct.
My apologies for my tardiness today.
No,
It
you
was
don't.
unavoidable.
You don't need to apologize for that ever. If it was something else, I would have busted your chops. But you're fully excused. Fully excused.
It's good to see you, man.
Yeah,
Nice seeing you again,
thanks for
Chris.
stopping by.
And
Thanks for
Sebastian,
stopping.
nice meeting
Yes,
you.
nice
Thanks for
meeting you.
joining
And
us, my friend.
All
I
right.
hope we can have a few drinks tonight around the conference. So
Yes.
That's it. We'll be here.
yeah,
And
we'll be here all night transmitting and drinking.
go Syracuse, I guess. Go
Yeah.
Syracuse.
Yeah, go Syracuse. Right? Go Purdue. Go Purdue. Technically, yeah, probably mostly go Syracuse, right?
Hold on Purdue. Let me show you this picture real quick before I go. It's not that far. Whoop. Come on. Was it that one? One more.
How many pictures you have there, man?
It wasn't in focus. Basically, that was Purdue, but on a Vegas plate.
There you go.
Ah,
But
yeah,
it's-
yeah.
it's
I see
all
the
blurry.
Vegas night. Yeah.
Ah,
All right. Well, thanks
Never
for
mind.
stopping by, man.
Thanks, man.
Awesome.
see you guys.
We'll see you.
All right. So I guess we are ready for our next. The only problem is that Andrew seems to stop and talk to Mike. So
That's it. So then they interview each other. while
yes,
we're here.
exactly.
Are we okay with mics? So hopefully we're not having a mic problem.
No, I
Yeah, unfortunately, we're having a mic problem. I'm sorry.
on
What?
I-
Was that Ash?
maybe we can
Yeah,
share
is
this
it
one.
as loud as it will get? Yeah, hold on.
Jessica, do we want to share mine?
Turn it off. Is that what you're asking me to do? Okay. it's
Say we
not
try
going.
unplug.
Might be able to just go with the one between us.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If we put it right here,
Okay.
Yeah. we have a seat for you, my friend.
Can you please send me
My
a
kids just watch it.
because it's going out live on YouTube.
Yes, it's
That's it.
a lot of big pressure.
You're an internet sensation or about to be.
About to be. That's right. My daughter has something like 25,000 followers on TikTok. So.
Oh wow! I
Okay.
thought this was something that you wrote for us, like some kind
Should we
of
turn-
gift.
should we
It's
turn
the
mine
music,
off
it's-
and
It's my sheet music for the
So,
guitar.
yeah,
just use this one between us? Can we do
yeah.
that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Hold on a second.
What are we singing?
All right, so test again.
All right. Can you hear me there?
I can hear you.
All
Okay,
right.
how about me? Is that good?
If you cannot hear me, here's the problem in that
Yeah,
case.
I'm sitting right here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Okay.
then we're
Can you
good.
hear me as well?
Good.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Just
I don't know if we really want to hear you.
no.
Ah,
Probably not. You asked me here.
Yes. So someone had the bright idea to stick a couple mics in front of me and him and say,
Yes.
"About it, boys. There you go."
Yeah, you could talk all day.
Yes.
Which we could, which is probably why the two of us are sitting here.
Yes.
I hear you.
But it was problems with our contract. We decided to go for 2 hours, payment wise.
So are we good? Can you hear Andrew? We're good.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
We're good.
Everything's good.
Excellent. So I guess let's continue. So yeah, we have our next guest, Andrew.
Andrew.
So,
that's
yeah.
me.
So how are you doing then?
I'm tired.
You're tired?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So I think you invited me here to talk about the 5K run.
Well, we invited you here because you're a great guy and we want to spend time with you. But yeah, if we have to talk
Flattery
about
will get you
something-
nowhere. Yeah, well, I'll buy,
I
I'll
thought
buy
we
you a
were-
drink
We
later.
can start there and see
But,
where it
but,
goes.
but let's start more from your background. I mean, I think I have known you now for, I don't know, maybe
3 or 4
7.
years.
No,
No, more than that.
you have known me for 3 years, but I have known you for decades. I think I met you in Pittsburgh in 2013 when we
God.
were at DFI.
Superpod.
No, it was S3. Like the conference for land
Yes, yeah, yeah,
stabilization.
yeah.
So I think that's when I met
When
you.
we went to the Panthers game?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, Pirates, not
Pirates,
but
Panthers,
it's fine.
Pirates,
It's fine. I'll give you. So
We could have been talking about the Panthers.
it
right?
could be.
It could have been.
Yeah.
It's Pirates,
I mean,
yeah.
you know,
Yes. So, but yeah, let's start from. I mean, obviously, I feel an accent, and, so where are you originally from?
I'll take that as a compliment coming from you.
I know. It's not as exciting as mine, but that's fine.
He's the one with an accent.
Good thing
It
there's
is
no
the one
accent
with an
over
accent,
here, right?
yes, exactly.
So you want my background?
Yes, let's
Yeah.
go for everything.
So I graduated in 1993 from the University of London with a civil engineering degree, and I then started my career in France for the reinforced earth company. So designing retaining walls and bridge abutments and all that good stuff. I did that for about 5 years, then moved into geotechnical consultancy to do something a bit more broad. And then I gradually worked my way up to be a geotech department manager for a British firm working mainly on the railways
Okay.
in England. So I did a lot of
You guys have to look at the camera. There.
Oh, I
That's
have to look at the
picture.
camera. I did a lot of drilling boreholes on Saturday nights on the network rail, as it was called. It used to be British Rail, and it changed when it semi-privatized. So that was very interesting. All sorts of, just some of it was just drilling, some of it was designing retaining walls, a
And what year are
failing
we talking?
tunnel.
This is late 90s.
This was
beginning of
early
2000s.
2000s.
Early 2000s. Okay.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, they don't like when they don't ever want you to do any drilling or anything during the day when it comes to the rail tunnel. You can't stop.
Oh,
the-
okay.
Yeah, so
Go
we
around,
had
yes.
possession of the line from typically on a Saturday night from midnight to 6, 7 a.m.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, nice and cold in the rain. And then you get a tunnel job and you think, cool, at least we won't get rained on, but then you get the wind effect through the tunnel. So it's like 32 below and you're drilling holes in the tunnel. And then you hit artesian water and you don't have your packer with you.
Right.
And the line is reopening in 2 hours. So you
Right. You got water
you
everywhere.
learn, you
got a
learn
mess,
pretty
yeah.
quick to be resourceful in those cases.
Right.
So that was early 2000, I guess until 2009. And I
Ah,
moved to the US.
So why you moved here?
That's a trick. That's a person.
The culture, the
My ex-wife.
cool. Okay. I like the first. Well, not the first one. So
The-
anyway.
So I moved to the US in 2009, following my first wife, and then the economy in the US wasn't doing too good.
Okay.
So I struggled a little
Oh
bit.
yeah, that's probably a hard
That was
time to
a
move.
hard time to move here. Everybody would, I'd get interviews. Like, yeah, you've got a great resume. We'd love to take you. You won't have a problem getting a job, but not here.
Yeah, but exactly.
right.
That's not the time.
So then I started working I got a job at Godow at
Okay.
the steel mill.
Yes.
And there I was the basically marketing person for their piling products. So sheet piles and H piles. And I started, that's when I got involved with DFI.
Yeah. So what?
And I became the chair. So in 2011,
Okay.
I joined Terracon, Godow.
Okay.
Wait, let me think. Was it 2011? No, 2012. So it was
'Cause that's what I think. That's probably around the time that I met.
2012. I joined Goodell, and I immediately joined DFI, and I became chair of the Driven Pilot Committee.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that's really when you came into my life, but I did not go into your life yet. As we can see, the admiration has been more one way than the other. But so okay, so that's the reason that you end up here. Then how then you connected to Terra?
So the job at Goodell was a great stepping stone, and I loved my 2 years there. I learned a lot about the industry in the US, and I learned more about sheep piling than I thought I ever would. But I have to say, if anybody listening, I don't know if anybody's listening, but if you ever get the
There's a lot of
chance,
people listening.
if
We
you ever
have
get the
a
chance
lot
to
of-
visit a steel mill, don't hesitate. The steel mills are really a fascinating thing.
Yeah, no.
To see
Go to
steel,
Pittsburgh. It's
yeah,
plenty of steel mills.
So, but as the chair of the Driven Pilot Committee, I got exposed. I mean, I was giving presentations, and Vic Donald from Terracon.
More pictures, man. Smile.
Well, she's a big deal. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
No, but this is going to Instagram and it's like
Podcast
likes
and
it.
co-host. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
right
Official
there.
photographer is fine, but Loki we have to work.
Yeah, that's it.
So anyway, I met Vic Donald, who was at the time the geotechnical service line director at Terracon, and he said, we got talking, and he said, have you heard of Terracon? I said, yeah. They were kind of in my line of, I was very interested to co-work for Terracon.
Okay.
And so
So
he
you
put
wanted
me
to
in
go
touch.
back, but I mean, were you looking to go back into like consulting or?
So yes, but more on the business development side.
Okay.
I didn't want to go back to being a department manager.
Yeah.
That's just not my personality, and
That
you
could,
know,
yeah, it could be a grind.
yeah,
For sure,
it's that kind of management of people and the hiring and all that side of it. But my geotechnical background, you know, from 20 odd years of experience is very useful to be able to talk to clients, to talk to suppliers, and really, so I joined as an account manager, so taking care of some of Terracom's national accounts, which are the larger clients that we do business with all over the country.
Okay.
So, and helping them get the service they deserve out of Terracom.
Okay.
So,
Great.
you know, it's very variable from one day to the next. I can be reviewing reports. I can be trying to find people at Terracom to do a specific job, keeping people on time and all of that.
Yeah. No. That's great. And
It's never the same. Some days I'm on site. Some days I'm at a
I was
conference.
gonna say, does that put you on the road a lot in that kind of
Hey,
role?
I used to, well,
Non
pre-pandemic,
COVID, yeah, right.
pre-pandemic, I was on the road a lot.
Yeah.
I've been on more Teams meeting than I ever hoped
Yeah.
to be on in my life. Over the last 18 months, I've done Teams happy hours. I've done Teams games.
The team's happy hour I haven't necessarily warmed up to yet, but I will say that I'm hoping that one positive that comes out of this is right. The nature of what I do, dropping a big weight out of the sky, right? There's sometimes clients aren't familiar with the dynamic compaction process, and no, you've got to come explain this. So I'm hoping that maybe some of the meetings where I would fly somewhere
you can do
to
it
go to a
easier,
1 hour
yeah.
meeting to then fly home the same day.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll be some of the positive.
Yes.
No,
You know.
I mean, I truly believe in human interaction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
There's
so
no
good to be
There's
back
just
in
like so
person
much advantages.
and sit next to Sebastian.
Correct.
Who's been my
Exactly.
best friend
Yeah.
for 10 years. Apparently.
Yes, but he didn't know. Like I only knew that you were my best friend, but he didn't know.
Well, he's probably gonna put two and two together now. Some of those like anonymous letters.
Yes,
letters.
exactly,
That he was getting written.
exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
So, I mean, and then so tying into today's topic,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So
How do you
I
get involved in
was
the-
chair
in
of
the
the
rock?
Driven Pilot Committee for a while, but then when I switched from Goodell to Terracon, it really didn't make sense to be the chair of the Driven. I didn't really have an interest in Driven Pilots so much,
Yeah.
and I thought the committee could be better served by someone who was actually in that industry.
world.
Yeah.
Sure.
specifically.
No, that's a
So,
good point.
but I
yeah.
wanted to stay involved with DFI, and luckily at that point there was a position on the board of the DFI Educational Trust. So
okay.
I applied for that and got elected. So I was very happy because so the Educational Trust, or I like to call it the Scholarship Trust, because I think our listeners will understand better what is scholarship.
It's sort of like we're giving
We
you a
basically
class.
raise money. We keep all that money in a bank, and the interest that money generates, so it's not in a bank, it's invested by very smart people. who've done a fantastic job over the years. And I'm not going to give numbers, but
I know the numbers actually. I mean, I'm not giving them, but
we have several $1 million sitting in.
I would not go several, but I would say a few.
We have a few $1 million.
But it is
more than one could be several, right?
No, but to be
It's
fair,
more than
like,
two.
I got my education of all this last year when we were in La Jolla in California. It was the first time that I attended like the trust fund. And I really saw the model, and it's great. I mean, what DFI has done on with the time, which is get all this money and put it on investment, and it's basically generate. And all the money goes to scholarships.
So talk about that for a minute, though. I mean, that scholarship fund. I mean, where's that money going to?
So there's
A lot of students.
a lot of students, and
You
again,
should
I'm not
read
going to
the
give
thing that comes with
numbers.
the thing. They send it next to the magazine.
It's for the
So
All right.
I did manage to convince Terracon to make a one-off $50,000 contribution.
Great.
So this $50,000, and the way I convinced them was this $50,000 is going to get distributed every year. So roughly, the growth of the fund has been historically around 7 to 10%.
Right.
So if you take $50,000, 5% of that is $2,500. So
Right.
every year, Terracon is giving a $2,000.
Sure.
Because there's fees involved with managing all that money. Without the $50,000, as long as we make more than 5% every year, we give $2,000 out in scholarship every year,
Which is
for
fantastic.
eternity.
Yeah.
It's not 50,000.
No, that's it.
Will be done in 25 years.
Right.
It keeps growing. That number keeps
And
growing.
as we convince more people to get it, then it will be better and better.
Yeah.
And better.
Yeah.
And so, for example, this year there's 5. It's not through the Telecom scholarship; it's through one of the other scholarships. There's 5 young students who are attending the conference. They got a $1,750 grant to come.
To be able to be
The
here.
registration is free, but the $1,750 covers their airfare, their hotel, and their food, and all of that. So
No, I mean, I
it
think
gets
it's
more.
nice.
We need more people in the industry.
No, yeah, it is. I do think back to being a younger engineer, maybe getting approval to go to these things. It was always tough because it's more the middle upper management folks
Yes,
that have been they're trying to build their relationships or expand relationships and taking field engineers out of the field, right? Is a staffing
I
problem.
probably didn't attend my first conference until I was 40, 42, 43, something like that, which is really the opposite. You want to get the young engineers
Yes,
to come to learn from
that. Yeah.
not just from their mentor in their office. They want to see what's happening
And
throughout the
create
industry
contacts and meet other people
and make lifelong friends.
yes, and drink at the bar and
That's
run. Let's go
So-
into the running part.
Yeah,
because
So the running part,
So
yeah,
I
'cause
used
my
to come
time
to
is
this
running out.
conference just to, network, see great presentations, drink at the bar. And
So-
it was nice. And then this guy put me to run now.
So
We have to wake
5
up
years
early and
ago
run.
now,
So
I-
good
I-
thing you skipped
I-
that part.
I copied it from another organization.
So yeah, where do you got the inspiration? to do
I-
that?
SAME was the first place that I started it.
Okay. Then you
And
said
I ran a few years ago, it was 2013, SAME had the annual conference, it's JETSI in San Diego. So I was already in my mid-40s and I ran my first official 5K
in San Diego.
in San Diego. It was
That's
nice
quite
and flat,
Yeah.
but it was SAME. So I was competing against like Navy cadets.
Yeah.
The guy was back sitting down having his post-run drink. I wasn't halfway.
Yeah, right.
But I think we need
but-
to incorporate some
but
He
drinks.
just
too.
put on his tie, probably doesn't even need a shower, right?
Yeah,
I got it.
he didn't break a sweat.
No, not at all.
I barely finished the race. But anyway, it inspired me. And when I joined the Educational Trust Fund, I thought, well, that's a great way to raise money.
Yes.
Sure.
So 5 years ago in New Orleans, we did the first one and it was a success. This year was our record fundraising.
Because of
we
my time.
basically, no, record
On the
as far
longest.
as how
On the
how much
longest.
money we raised.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
We raised just under $20,000 from the race this
Oh,
morning.
that's
Which
fantastic.
is great. It's amazing because this is an activity that we didn't have before, right? And then you come with the idea, and jokes apart, you are giving DFI $20,000 that can be invested in education,
Yep.
the education fund and scholarship. So I think we joke about it, but I think it's a great.
It's also
cause,
a great fun. It's a fun
And it
event.
is
I mean,
fun.
it's not
Yeah.
a race.
Yeah.
It's
not a
it's
race.
a fun run.
It's a
Even though
survival.
I beat
survival
Sebastian.
I don't know, you beat me, but yeah, it's. I would say that it's also fun because some people clearly in the industry are really into running, and for them it's a cool way to do it. Some of us have previous running experience, but we're not as crazy as we were when we were younger, so we still have an opportunity to, 5K is not that long, and there is people that just want to walk, and it's a good way to explore the city too. I mean, I hear it from many people that walk this morning and say they love it because it was a way to walk around the street without all the tourists and people, right? And see a lot of things that you would not see a lot of time.
Yeah, there's we're at 900 attendees at the conference.
Yeah, I think
We had about 60 people on the run. Those are maybe, some of those you would not have met.
I hear we were like 100 people registered, but not everyone show up.
Yeah,
that goes in
that
the.
sounds about
But that's
right.
fine. They pay, right?
Vegas.
As long as they pay,
yeah,
that's
they
what
can
matters
keep paying.
most.
Exactly. So.
And you get a cool shirt with all the
I love the
sponsors.
shirt. I love the shirt. With all the
This year
sponsors.
we went all out on the shirt.
Yes.
And next year will be a little easier. But
Well, I hear the conference next year is going to be epic. I mean, I hear some great people are involved. Yes.
Chairs
The,
this conference.
the technical,
These guys
are
all
unreal.
this stuff.
the
Yes.
good news as far as the 5K run is, though, next year will be flat.
Yes.
Where is it?
Today we had to go over the bridges to get over the streets.
It's on the trailer is next
There's
to
a
the
trail
Potomac,
in
right?
front of the hotel,
Okay.
along the river there.
Yeah.
I can't
And there,
pronounce that river.
there
Well,
is
no,
Let this guy.
There'll also probably be a
Potomac.
much.
Potomac.
Potomac.
Yeah.
Potomac.
In
No,
Espanol, it's
Potomac.
Potomac.
There's also going to be a much higher probably
Price?
turnout. Well,
Ah,
no, it's
okay.
turnout, right? Because it's not in Vegas, right?
Yes.
So that's probably
Yeah. I mean,
people
and
registered and didn't show.
hopefully the world obviously will go into a place that a lot of companies are going to allow everyone to
And-
go.
and-
And
Absolutely.
And I think every year we're going to get, because people are talking about it more,
Yes,
so we'll get
absolutely.
more attendees. So no, it was a fun event this morning, and my legs are tired. That's mainly from the stairs, though, not from the
well, no,
run.
I mean,
Right,
to
the
be honest,
stairs.
you were doing also a lot of coordination even since before. Like I just show up and run, but you were.
It's
Now,
all good fun. And I
How was
enjoy
the part that you got like a Las Vegas running club involved, right? Which was very helpful this morning because they were kind of the
it.
pacemakers
it
and they
was
showed us
fantastic.
the
Well,
route.
that's all credit to Angie, DFI staff.
Oh, she
I
was
mean,
the one. Well,
did
Angie's
all of
fantastic,
that.
sure.
She's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
She organized the shirts as well, and
Oh, right, okay.
she got us a great deal on the shirts.
The
and-
quality is pretty good.
These
Yeah.
guys are well oiled.
It's almost like
Yeah.
this podcast. It's so good that it's almost legit. The shirts are the same. They actually look like they are
Right.
almost legit. So
Maybe next year if we get this, the almost legit.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Nice.
So who's next to be interviewed?
I think Loki is next, but she seems to be in a conversation. Oh no, Armin was.
Well, I mean, Lucky, are we bothering you over there? She's not even paying attention.
Loki,
Lucky, you're next.
Lucky. We're not so lucky. She's not.
She's not paying attention.
Loki.
Lucky. There we go.
There she is.
All right. Well, anyway, thank you very much for
Okay,
stopping
no,
by.
thanks for inviting me. Good to see you, my best friend.
Excellent, excellent job with putting the 5K
Yes.
together.
Thank you.
No,
Appreciate
thanks.
you joining us, man.
Thank you.
And good luck with
Okay.
that. Don't worry. Tonight we'll bring some
I need to hydrate.
gins and tonics, and then your legs are gonna
Stay
go back.
hydrated.
We will do another
That's right.
5K tonight.
That's right. Now, here's the key. When Lucky sits down, like you can't make eye, we're not allowed to make eye contact with her. We are almost legit, like we are
Yes.
imposter podcast
Yes.
hosts compared to what Lucky and Tim are doing.
Yes, correct.
Right? So we can't
We're
make
like
eye
a down
contact.
version.
Yeah, she's up here and then we're just kind
We
of
just got couple shirts.
down,
And,
you know?
yes.
Are you kidding me?
Absolutely.
No way. Chris Woods and Sebastian are the two best minds that we have for the podcast. The ideas that roll out,
That is doubtful.
the ideas that
I'll
roll
go with
out, and Chris Woods, well, I know what I want to say here. Maybe we should say this. To you and Tim are amazing in terms of like thinking about 20 years ago, 10 years ago. What movie did you watch?
Oh yeah. That's crazy. But let's go back to the beginning. Let's go to kind of explain who we are and why are we here. So for everyone that is watching, the podcast really started with Loki and Tim, right? We have the first season, and now Chris and I are trying to do this, trying to keep the level. But just tell us a little bit about how the podcast started. Well, before that, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can go into the podcast.
Sure. So I have been in the industry for.
As I said to the other guest, I noticed an accent. So it's a good way to say that. So I have been 20 years in this country with people approaching me and say, I noticed an accent. So I love this because now I can tell people. I
No,
noticed an
no,
accent.
2:1. 2:1.
Exactly.
Well, look, I don't have anyone calling yelling at me right now, so my Jersey accent will remain sort of
Yes.
subdued.
So yeah, so I mean,
So,
when you were born.
yes, so I was born in India, and growing up, I was more like a tomboy. I was the only girl on the street, and all the others were boys. So I got used to playing with the boys all the time, and my parents were really shocked that I was always outside, and I loved playing in the dirt and everything else, jumping terraces of the houses because the houses were so close. And as I started growing up, for some reason, looking at different types of buildings and looking at how the architecture of the buildings, like temples and a lot of other things, always I associated myself with.
We all have a story, right? Something
Yes.
that got into this industry. There was something that happened that got us.
Exactly. And that's what was kind of like enticing me. Like, I have to get into that, do something like that.
Absolutely.
And once I still remember, my whole family was shocked when they found out that I'm going to do my
Really?
bachelor's in civil engineering, and they were like, "What?
Right.
No, no,
What,
no,
what
no,
I
no."
mean, what were they expecting? What was their hope? Or
So in India, now it is changing, but 15 years ago in India, everyone, when you say you're doing engineering, you would say you have to do computer science engineering.
oh yeah, no, I know.
So
Yeah.
that's horrible. Computer science engineering, sitting in an office, coding the whole day, not having any interaction. I was like, oh, this sounds no. So I finished my bachelor's of engineering, even after so I saying that no, you shouldn't be going into engineering. The whole family thought I didn't do well in grades, so that's why they pushed me into civil engineering, but that was not the case.
Let's skip that part. Yes.
Yes. So so after all that, I believed in what I learned. I believed in what I learned. Engineering is something that that molds you who you are if you have passion for passion for any kind of engineering. So
Yes,
that's how my career started. And then from there, in India, the other thing also is like if you are 18, 19, 20, then they will be like, oh, I think we should get you married.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So that was another thing I was kind of running away from. I did not want to just have
You want to make your own choices.
yeah,
That's it.
and I wanted to take care of my parents, be
Yes.
independent and have that independence as a woman. So it took me 6 months to convince my dad that I'm going to go and do my master's, and it did not go well. So I still remember my father telling me when we were coming back from the visa consulate. So if you don't get a visa,
You
you
get married.
are going to get married.
Wow.
You cannot tell me that you're not.
That's
But anyway.
that's an unusual situation. It's a study, or otherwise you get married. Right. So
So, but things worked out fine. I got my
so what
and
year
here,
was this?
This was 2002. 2002.
Ah, so we came probably around the same time to this
Yeah, we were
country.
in grad school at the same time.
And then what happened to there from? So what school you went here and
University of Texas at Arlington.
In Arlington.
That is also a story because I did not apply to any other university. We knew a family friend's son who went there. And my father was like, that's the only university you're applying.
Oh really?
Yeah.
It was restricted. on that.
That was restricted.
It's a good school. I mean, it's not Virginia Tech, but not everyone's perfect. So we'll cut you. a
Yes.
break. We'll cut you a break. So you touched on this being a woman in this industry. So I know you're there with the Women in Deep Foundations committee that we have here with DFI, and trying to work hard to pave that road and make things easier. I mean, what kind of things is the Women in Deep Foundation committee up to?
Oh, there are plenty of things. So I've been associated with this committee for the last 5 years, but this committee has about 8 years in the bank. So it was started by Helen Robinson with the GI Consultants, and she did it, and Mary Ellen, of course. They were the two strong foundations of the Women in Deep Foundations.
Yep.
And it has been amazing to see the growth from where they were and where we are today. So in the last 5 years I've been part of it, I think I've seen how much we have grown, how much we have, discussed what was not discussed before on women's career within the companies, safety for women in the field, things like that. And each person in that committee is a support support person for another women engineer in the room. So initially when it started, it was more like, having events during networking events during the conferences and things like that. And I think in the last 1.5 years, we have done a lot in bringing in younger generation into it. And then apart from that, we've started something called Know Your Members.
Okay.
So it's a big group now. It's like 88 or 89 people in the group
No,
now.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Look, doing my part.
Yes, and these are the lanyards. So
I think it's great.
Right.
It's great work you guys are doing. I mean, you guys always have the big receptions the first night after committee meetings and everything. So it's definitely, there's an awareness of what you guys are doing.
yeah, and last night's reception at the conference was amazing. We had
It was.
about 150
Some people didn't go,
There you
but
go.
it was.
Some people didn't go.
No,
yes.
we understand. It's just joking apart.
So we had 150
I got a
people
flat
yesterday,
Yeah.
and we had a lot of men in the group, in
Yeah,
the room,
yeah.
right?
It was a very cool meeting,
Yeah, and we've also started mentoring pods,
which I
which
think is a great idea.
right, pilot program, and it's more like organically growing mentoring pod, where we are giving the choices for the members to have more than one mentor.
Yeah. And I think, I was talking to, two of your members, which are, Taylor and Lauren. Like I've been a mentor for them at our company, right? But there is only so much that I can be as a mentor in certain fields. But I think it's great that they also have a mentor from the committee, so they see things that probably, unfortunately, I cannot just show them. You know what I'm saying? It's so no, I think it's a really good thing that you have done. But you have done a lot of stuff also with DFI, right?
Yes.
I mean, you came into our lives and you completely took over a lot of things.
That's it. But and now here we are with.
And now here we are.
With the
Game
podcast.
day, right?
Yeah.
Live
So
game day.
how this came into your mind? Because I think you were the one that really started talking about this, right? I mean, I remember like we were contact, but I don't think, or it was us. I don't
We
think
kind
so.
of jumped in, right?
We
I
jumped
heard
in, but
about
like the ideas, you started the idea with Tim,
you
right?
and Tim,
Yes. So, the last 2 years have changed a lot in everyone's life,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
We all can say that. So, my husband is an IT profession, and then he watches a lot of YouTube channelers.
Right.
So
Okay.
I've been watching this, and I've seen like a lot of podcasts that came up.
Why aren't we doing this? Right.
Yeah, and I'm like, why aren't we doing this?
Right.
This is a great platform where we can bring in people and talk about things. And then Tim had the same idea of starting a podcast like a year and a half ago, it seems, and that did not go anywhere. And then Mary Ellen,
okay.
I was talking to Mary Ellen. Hey, Mary Ellen, I want to start a podcast, but I want to do it with DFI banner because DFI is something very dear to my heart, and I'm passionate about it. And has very
And I mean,
great people like both of you.
To be fair, thank you. To be fair, and we also saw, and we learned from our colleagues, right? I mean, Jared has been doing the one with the Engineering Management Institute, and then Brad has been doing things with Geostrata. And you have been doing stuff with Geostrata and
that is-
ACE.
Yeah.
So I think it was, obviously we felt that DFI should have something, but then you also start thinking that it
What's
was
our content?
what's our
our
content. We just
Yeah.
don't want to, have
Yeah.
interviews. I mean,
That's very true.
definitely the other associations have like an angle on things, and they're doing a really good job, right? I hear Jared has interviewed amazing people, right? So yeah.
I know some really big deal people.
Yes, exactly.
No question. Yes.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do something that was different, right? And you brought that into the mix, which is
From the beginning, yeah.
from the beginning, which is let's have an angle that we are not kind of stepping on the same ground, that we can have our field. So yeah, tell us more about that, like how that idea.
Yeah, so we kept thinking about what can be unique, what can be different. We just didn't want to bring in another guest and just talk about the same things. And what we noticed, one thing common in all these podcasts were they're all talking about successes,
Yes.
right?
No one
And
ever wants
no one ever wants to talk about failure. I mean,
learn the most from it.
most from it, and we grow to be a better engineer from failure, right?
No one
So-
wants to deal with it, but it happens.
It happens, yeah. How do you deal with it?
What I can tell you, we're all busy. Everyone's busy. So sometimes it's hard in the day to find the time to sit and focus on a podcast or on something. So I've had the opportunity to listen to the episodes generally, 5:30 in the morning while I'm driving to Pennsylvania or something to go to a job site visit. The phone's not ringing yet. I'm able to really focus on it. But I got to be honest. I mean, from the beginning, you and Tim allowing Sebastian and I, and we got Morgan working with us. Like, I am so proud to be like part of
No,
what
yeah,
we're doing with
absolutely.
this, because
Yeah.
when I listen to the stories that Billy's told and
Cord, yeah.
has told,
Cord,
like
yeah.
I mean, especially with Billy, I mean, you could feel it. Like
Yep.
listening to it, you could feel the angst and the pain that caused for
Yeah.
him to go through that. And so, for really, it doesn't matter where you're at in your career, whether you're a field engineer that you know is a year out and you don't know any better, to a guy that's been in the industry for 20 years, or a girl, sorry, that's been in the industry for 20 years, that knows what could go wrong. You know, to listen to those stories and just, yeah, this is, you know, maybe it makes you be a little more cautious or think about something twice or whatever. So I'm very proud, and I'm sure I'm speaking for Sebastian here, just to be able to work with you guys on this, because I mean, I feel that it's been phenomenal content for our industry.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
People
think
to
so.
listen
So tell us, you know, I mean, obviously we know, but just to share it, I mean, what do we have out there right now? So right now on YouTube, if you go to YouTube, you can find episode 1, right?
Yes,
Which is Billy.
Yeah,
Go
which
ahead.
is Billy. And we have episode 2, which is Cord Bisman.
And then
we
I hear
have
episode 3 is
3.
amazing, right?
Yeah.
God, that's
Greg Reiter.
Yeah.
He's on episode 3.
I thought I was episode 2. Oh, no,
You
I'm
are,
bonus
you are,
episode, yeah.
You are.
Bonus episode.
Bonus episode. I was going to call yours bonus episode. And Sebastian, you are there talking about your adventures as an engineer in Colombia, right? Which is unheard for. No one has seen that side of Sebastian, and we are really happy to dig into that.
We just recorded episode 4.
Episode 4, yeah, last week, which was Cassandra Getzel. Yeah.
Great stuff to talk about.
So yeah, so that's coming what, November?
Yes, first week of November. And we will be recording first week of November.
Okay.
The next episode and the last episode, which is David, not the last, but one. So David Wilshaw from Florida, he was my first boss. So we go a long way. After graduating, he was my first boss. And so the funny thing is, he had, when he's from London, and he had that accent, me coming from India, and just knowing Indian accent, and then talking to him, it took me 6 months to understand what he's saying, you know. But anyway, he's going to be talking about risks. You know, what risks mean to all of us. How do we understand it?
Manage it,
How do we
mitigate
plan it,
it. Yep.
manage, mitigate? So that's what we are going to learn from him.
Cool.
And then the last one is Tom Richards.
Yes.
So that's going to be a big
That's
one
gonna be
again.
epic. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
and then tell us a little bit about what's coming on the next season, right? Because one of the concepts is that I mean that comes from you, but we want to explore different things. So we play with this interview with the Survivor series, but then we want to move into something that is slightly different, right?
Right.
So we don't keep doing like the same. So yeah, tell us more about that.
Yeah, sure. So the reason why we thought about it was we all come to conferences. We all meet our industry friends, industry BFFs. That's what I call them now. Industry BFFs. So when we are talking to them about projects, and you know, we are such good friends, but there is something in us that we don't agree on. Right. And we had that argument while we are talking to each other, and then we are friends again.
That's it.
Right. That's it. So that's what we wanted to dig into. Like, you know, over a period of time, we build relationships that are long lasting and forever. And those relationships teach us different things. So we are going to be calling it as drama. And we will be bringing in industry experts who have been working with each other for a very long time.
Maybe opposite sides of the spectrum.
Yes,
Correct.
you are right, Chris. That is very true.
Yeah.
And as you and Sebastian have been, you know, part of the organizing committee and then talking to us about this, and I think we have identified amazing speakers for
Yes,
this.
absolutely. The
Who
lineup
are
is-
going head to head.
Yeah.
Yeah, head to head. It's almost like a boxing match, right?
That's it.
Yeah, boxing match. And I'm planning to bring in boxing gloves.
Some of them may be a little more lively than others too.
And tell us a little bit about the concept, because something that you came with the idea to is it's gonna be like an argument. I mean, a very respectful professional argument, but the idea is that it's open for the viewers to then go and decide who was right. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
debate,
Right.
and then the votes will come later.
Yeah,
right?
no, that is very true. We don't want to make a conclusion at
Mm-hmm.
the end of each episode, but it will be on YouTube. Listeners will decide what they think about who wins or who is the best. You know,
Yes.
we want that engagement from the industry.
That's
So,
awesome. That is
right. That's
awesome.
very important.
Yeah.
So that's what we are planning, and it's going to be launched soon.
Okay.
So look out for it, and we will ask you, are you ready to rumble?
Absolutely.
You
ready
better
to
say
rumble?
yes.
Well, Loki, thank you very much for stopping by and spending some time with us today.
Yeah, thank you for everything.
Yes,
you're
actually,
doing
this
for
is
the
your show.
industry.
We're just
Yeah.
borrowing for a few
That's it.
hours.
Not at all, not at all.
Right. Like I said, you're up here, and then me and Sebastian are like
Yes.
the almost famous.
Exactly.
You know,
Almost legit.
Yeah, almost legit. That's it.
No,
That's
I
it.
would say you guys are the best, right? So thank you for having me.
We're here because the two of us, if given the choice, we could probably talk the paint off the walls. You know what I mean?
No, thank you very much. It's always good to see you at
Absolutely.
conferences,
Excellent.
and it's
We'll-
great
we'll-
to be
we'll
in
catch up
person.
later today,
Yes.
right?
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thanks, Lucky.
Thank you.
Ed, can you join us? All right. So now, putting the three of us, it's gonna be dangerous in the sense of talking for hours and hours and hours.
Hey, Chris.
Sebastian, nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
So yeah, Jessica, you have to be really careful with time because the three of us can go for hours and hours and hours. So yeah, all right. Well, no, I'll start with the introduction. So I think I know you for what, like 8 years now, I think.
Pittsburgh.
Since Pittsburgh, exactly. And yeah, and I think you are part of what I became very active on DFI, and you were the first person that asked me if I wanted to belong to like a technical committee.
Yeah.
And obviously, then I ended up joining your committee.
I wasn't sure if I forced you into it.
It was a polite force.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, he asked too many smart questions, so it's just like,
We gotta
Yes.
find a place for this. guy.
Exactly. Exactly. So I mean, you have been the chair of that committee for a really long time, doing a really good job. But yeah, I mean, let's start from the beginning. Right? I think we have been doing this with everyone. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, where you grew up and how you got involved on engineering, and then the companies that you have been, and construction and the part of consulting and all those changes to construction, and then DFI, basically how you're here. And I have to say, I know it's an accent, so yeah.
it's a lot. Well, originally from New York, grew up in Northern Virginia. I'm a Hokie.
We're in Northern Virginia.
Mountain County,
Be more specific.
Sterling.
Okay, I live in Leesburg.
Oh,
And I'm also a Hokie, so
there you
Oh,
go.
we're off.
no Hokies. We're kind of like the Illuminati of geotechnical.
All right.
Global domination.
It's true.
Is the game.
I would say my only positive here is that Pete is gonna destroy Virginia Tech on Saturday, so you guys can go on Virginia Tech all you want. So
Fair enough.
That might be true.
Yep.
No problem. So
yeah, so you were born and okay, born, grew there, and then how you got into engineering? How you got into geo?
So I was at school at Tech, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, it was in engineering, so I was doing something there. But and at the time, it was like the computer craze, right? Missed that boat. But anyway, the point is, like, I was like, I couldn't bear to sit in front of a computer all day. Everybody's like, oh, you got to do computer engineering, you got to do. I'm like, I don't think I can do it. It's just like I want to do something that I'm going to enjoy or whatever. And actually, since I've been at the conference, I've been reminiscing about like how I got into it, because people, young students come up, and I don't know that I had the best stories, but they're the best to me, right? So I had I said, well, maybe civil engineer, construction school, and I had an internship at a construction site. I mean, this was a long time ago. They did things a little differently back then, and I mean, it was rough. Like it was the first day on a construction site. My boss got in a fist fight with the pump operator. Like they're rolling around the ground. I was like,
On the first day.
I was like, this job is amazing.
Right. This is good stuff.
I'm like, this is it. This is great. I was like, man, you got to handle yourself. And it was a crazy project. I mean, and it was just a summer internship.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like, I came back and
You're all amped up.
yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
I was like, it's like, it was, like what it is. It's different every day for sure.
Where was this job site?
It was in Prince William County
Okay.
at their water treatment plant. They were doing this mass expansion, and yeah, it was crazy. We had all these remember old Ford Rangers? They had like no AC, no radio, stick shift, and you just run into things with them constantly.
So what year is this? I mean, what time are we talking here?
This would be 96.
Oh,
maybe?
okay.
97, something like that. And, so that
after that, I was like, yeah, I'll probably do something in this field.
But you were not, I mean, at that time, you identified that you like the construction aspect of it,
Yeah.
but you were not completely like, it's geotech with a contractor, right? I mean,
Right.
you're still kind of
So-
trying to find.
So that was, it was actually a really good job. I didn't know it. Like, not only that I knew I could handle myself.
Yeah.
When I got ugly on the job site. But,
It's like already.
but I ended up, because they had a couple issues like that. I ended up running this little testing lab for like
Okay.
concrete, soil, like doing it. So, you know, and I put that on my resume like anybody should, right? And then like fast forward like years later when I got out, like I was only out of school for like less than a year. I was working for, well, essentially WSP.
Okay.
And I got a call. They're like, hey, see in the resume, you ran a lab. I was like, yes.
Yes, I did.
And they're like, okay, well, you have to step in and run this lab. We need it. I was like, okay. That was the Springfield interchange. And it was like $1 billion project with this massive lab. I'm like,
Oh, the
you know,
flyovers and
I mean, I
everything.
think there was a
Yeah.
little volume difference, and
Right.
but actually, that was a good experience. I did fine. It was, and yet I came in to replace this girl, Rosalinda from Colombia, because
okay.
her sister got kidnapped by the FARC,
Oh,
and
all right.
and I was like, and she's like, I'll be back in a month and a half. I was like, you seem so sure of that. It seems like the situation though wouldn't.
There might be a little.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I
exactly.
mean, she was like, sure. She's like, I'll be back in a month and a half. And I didn't know why she was going. And I asked her, I was like, a month and a half? Oh, what do you have to do? Kind of negotiate with the terrorists
Wow.
to release my sister. I go, oh my God, that's horrible. She's like, it happens all the time down there. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you could- you know,
Hey,
and-
we have a whole episode of the podcast about that.
Yeah.
On my dad's case. So yeah.
Yeah, but
And just to keep things clear, I mean, like we laugh about it because we always say, you know, tragedy plus time equal comedy, right? And
Right.
then that we're commenting on this because obviously all this is now fixed, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
all right, yeah.
Yeah,
keep
so,
going.
well, anyway, so like 6 months later, you know, she came back. Everything was fine. She was fine. You know, but it was just like, but that was a good experience. But ultimately, how I got involved in geotechnical engineering was my next internship after the construction thing was I worked for Steel Foundations in DC with Andy and Ron, you know, and that was a really cool experience because it kind of did what I like everything. Like you know, they do engineering, they do construction. So I did both. So I was like, I really like it. So to be honest, after that, when I got back to school, I was a lot better student because I had a little more direction as to what I kind of wanted to do.
yeah, I want to be here. Right?
And so that's really what kind of kicked it off was working for Andy, and so then fast forward. And,
Yeah. So how Wattman came into the picture?
so I got out of school, was working for WSP. I was on the Wilson Bridge Foundation project for years.
That's the one. Okay. So is that the one? The story I remember you telling me that you were driving a little boat. Every
Yeah, oh,
day,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like the only person
Yeah.
that goes to a job site driving a personal boat, like literally on the river
Yeah,
and
yeah.
getting there.
Yeah, so well, we did a lot of stuff with the post-tensioning ducts and the pile driving and the foundation.
Mhm.
And our boss was like, you can't go out there without a captain's license. I said, that's it? I didn't know that was the threshold. No. I mean, you can't do it. And like, so I immediately went out and got a
Yes.
captain's license. And I go, here you go. And they're like, yeah, you can do it. So we would take it out every day, all the time, and we'd take it into Old Town with all these yachts. And this is like a 20-foot skiff with like dead fish in it and like all kinds of construction material, and we tie it up. They're like, you can't do that. They're like, it's okay. I'm with the bridge.
Yes. And I have a license.
Yeah, and I got a captain's license.
You're giving me flashbacks. Being from Jersey, New York. I mean, I spent the first bunch of years of my career in the field in
Yeah,
Jersey City and all that.
right.
And it was the middle of February on the Hudson River. And we had to work with the Jersey City police, like special whatever unit, to get out to do an inspection underneath the pier. And that was like waiting for the water to be at a certain tide level that we could actually access this thing. So the police, like, they give us these suits, the survival suits, and they're like, we'll put those on, so if you fall in the water, you'll live for a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Right? And then we're like in this little like outboard motor blow up dinghy boat coming out of Jersey State, like where the Statue of Liberty is, coming up around to this pier. And the Coast Guard basically pulls us over in the middle of the river. And it was like two cops and me, and they're like, what is wrong with you? The wind chill on the Hudson was like minus 25 that day. Right? I actually got frostbite on my face, like the whole thing. And they're like, so they like towed the dinghy, they put us in the boat, we go over and we get up on it. But I'm just thinking about this captain's license. And I'm just like, that's a flashback I haven't had in a while. That's
It was interesting. I liked having that boat. I mean, it really did facilitate getting the job done because they had all these piers, all these coffer dams across the river, and you could take the crew boats, but it took forever. And like we couldn't get half the stuff done. So when we got the skip, the only day I hated, one day a week, because I'd do the pile driving until we figured it out. They would kill a bunch of fish.
Okay.
And so one day a week, I had to take the environmental people out. They'd scoop up all the dead fish into my boat. And I'm like, this is not a good day. It might be a big pile of, and then they'd have to be like, write down the cost of that. I mean, it's good.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
The Simpsons, man.
and then
the wheels are coming.
Yes. All right. Let's go back into the subject, not fish funerals.
Yeah. Sorry. Where was I?
Okay, DFI. So how DFI came into the picture?
So
How did you get
So
involved?
after the bridge, I went into a specialty company, a small specialty company in Northern Virginia, doing excavation support work with guys that were essentially ex-shuttle foundation guys that started their own company, and they knew that I had worked for Andy before, and so I started doing that. And at the time, that's when I started working with John Beck.
Okay, that's right.
So that's John's is responsible for me getting involved
So
in
you got
DFI.
involved in DFI.
Yeah, because
So
it was
what year is this?
2004.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah. So that's when I went.
dude, you still look like you're 18, right? I mean, not to sound strange, but he definitely has a really good look.
And I mean, compared to Miguel, he's got.
I know.
Right?
Yes.
So sorry, Mike.
No problem.
Yeah, that's good.
No problem. But no, so I mean that and he was getting involved in committee work.
Yeah, John is a legend. And he has done it all. And
So a lot of the things he worked on, I would work alongside, and then I would go to that's when I started going to DFI.
okay.
So,
But the DFI has changed a lot since 2004, right?
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you have seen that change. Like, when did you got as a chair of the committee? Because I think John used to be the chair, right?
Yeah. He was
okay.
chair of that, and then the micropile committee.
Okay, so it was because he was moving out into something, and then that came.
Yeah, and so and at that point I'd been going for several years, and if you remember Terry, he was also John was there. I mean Tom Richards. So
Tom Richards,
I knew all of them, and they were all previous chairs, and they were all sitting on the committee. So at that point I knew everybody, and I knew what the mission was.
And I mean, honestly, you have been doing a fantastic job with the committee. I mean, I think you're probably one of the, how do I say this, longest tenure maybe, having the chair of the committee. But I mean, tell us a little bit about the committee. What kind of, I mean, I'm part of your committee, so I know, but it's just to share it with Chris, you are not on the committee.
And our thousands of listeners.
Thousands of listeners, yes. So, but I mean, tell them about the cool stuff that we do and.
Well, I mean, I think the reason I'm involved, and I think the best part about it is having I would think a positive influence on our industry and the things that we do. I mean, the wheels move slow. It's just a reality of it, and so that part is it's taught me patience, because that's not like where I come from, always. But it thought you do make we do make impacts, and the
Yeah.
committee does.
Let's go into a little bit of those examples, because since I joined, definitely we have done a lot of cool stuff like with the NAFAC, and I think that would be manuals and soil nails.
Yeah, well, I mean, a good example. I thought the most clear-cut example was we reviewed the soil nail manual that they had put together, the new one. We
For soil nails, right?
yeah,
That
for
was
soil
the
nails.
one that came out in 2016.
Yeah, and we had reviewed it, and we went through it, and then we talked about the example problems. We had started shortly after doing our temporary nail
Yes.
guide, and but so we were very familiar with it. And we got an opportunity to go to the T15 committee, which is what puts everything together for ASHTO and rewrites the national guides. And it's like, I'd absolutely go. It seems, I don't know. And they're like, yeah, you're there as a reference. They're going to ask some questions about it, because they're the DOT guys are rewriting this factor soil. Oh, okay. So we went there, and I made my own edits to it. And then at the meeting, I said, because they were like, I was like, well, I rewrote some of these things. I said, do you want to see them? And they ended up adding some of that stuff in. So I thought that was really cool. I mean, there were nuances. One was they were gonna ban volleyball. Like in I was like, why don't you just don't say anything? And they're like, okay. So
here's a piece of it, right? So one thing that's going on in the industry right now, and fortunate to be involved with this a little bit, is ASC is working on a foundation design standard.
Yeah.
Kind of eventually the goal would be to have it replace Chapter 18 of the IBC.
yeah, that's a good goal.
I've never been involved on a national level committee before this, but we just had some meetings. We were all out in Denver a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And so one of the eye-opening things to me, sitting in a room where you've got consultants, you've got contractors, you've got code people, you've got, I don't want to say competing agendas, because everyone in theory is working on the same thing, sort of the same thing with a committee, right? But you definitely have competing lenses, competing viewpoints, where contractors, everyone's got different. So as a committee chair, I mean, how do you, when you're trying to navigate that, and your point, you're doing these reviews, you're doing, like, how do you kind of navigate through that, trying to build a consensus?
I mean, I think it's important in the committee. We take it at small steps. Honestly, I mean, Sebastian knows he's been involved in a lot of it. Like, literally, it'll be like me, Sebastian, Helen, or Vaughn. So you build a small consensus, or Tom, so then call him, and we build a small consensus first, right? Because I mean, I respect the work that Sebastian does, and I want to know. And so we build a small consensus first, and start to know, like, okay, does this make sense? Because there are a bunch of competing interests. So once we kind of have a feel for it, and there's a decent amount of people that understand it, then you take the next step into like a bigger meeting, right? Kind of go through that. This is how I do it, at least. Then I go through all that, listen to people's comments, then you get bigger and bigger until like there's a decent amount of people that are basically on board. Some not all happy, but hey, it's reality. But we got to keep at least a relatively clear direction, right? And that's ultimately what I try to present. And a lot of the times, frankly, I mean, a lot of the work that we have done that we put together, when people call and they ask these types of questions that aren't on the committee, I typically direct them right to our guide specs, like all the stuff that's written down that people understand and respect. Because I don't want to be like, well, in the committee, we're doing all this, like this. I mean, it's just going to confuse the industry.
The committee should be for the people that really are in the weeds with this stuff.
Yeah.
Know enough to
Correct.
Because consultants, like, they want these answers, and
consultancy, how we talk about me, man. No respect here.
Look, man, if we're being honest, there's a pretty compelling reason I'm not a consultant anymore. Let's just.
But and I understand what they
respect
want.
that, right?
But the reality is I usually just put it in context, and like, a lot of it is all addressed for the most part in various guide specs. So I just point them in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, and something that is also pretty cool is you have a mix, right? Because you have contractors and you have consultants and suppliers, academics. So everyone has the option to pitch in their views, right? And it may be that some, end up being discarded at the end, but it's a very well mixed. I mean, I know it's cliche, but it's the common ground that we always call on DFI, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I, a lot of the times, which I understand, like in our committee, and I give them credit, they still participated, like the suppliers, right? Sometimes they're left out a little bit just because of some of the nuances that we're doing. But they are suppliers. They have stepped up every time because like when we go through these things, like you have a very specific role, material.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
Correct.
And I need to know that it's right. Like I don't.
And they probably know it better than anyone in the world.
They do.
Correct.
It's like so you need to get it right. So you need to look at this section. And every time I've asked them to do that, they've done it, and that's great.
Yes.
Really
No, it is.
So it's a good. Like Sebastian said, it's a good even balance of people that we have. They all contribute.
And,
that's great.
And another thing that we do that has been very successful, I guess, and it's the reason that I ended up in DFI is the events that we organize, right? And I think S3. I mean, S3 has grown and it has even changed names. It used to be SSI, I think, at some point. And, But I mean, to me, that conference has evolved. I mean, obviously now it's open to more committees. I always feel that the roots were really, kind of in our committee on slope stabilization with soil nails and anchors and things like that. And obviously you kind of, well, I mean, you're not the chair every year on that conference, but you're heavily involved and you give the opportunity to different people depending on the region where the conference is. But tell us a little bit about that, how that concept evolved.
So the way it evolved is, so Chris Ramsey, it was Vern, but he was very involved in it. They started actually in Nashville, where we're going back to, and we were kind of involved in that conference, but loosely. And I really liked. I thought the concept was a really good concept as to what we have nowadays. So after the national conference, I went to Vern and I was like, I think we really sit down and make this like a really good conference. I mean, we got great speakers, we got a lot of good stuff, and then we that's kind of when the software thing started too. And I said we should really think about taking some time to put this together. I mean, and I was like, we're anchors and soil nail, yours slope stability. It's like it's it's a marriage. It was meant to be. And so that's kind of what started. And then it was Pittsburgh, where Sebastian came in. And it just like just the other day when we had the chairs meeting after we were talking about the conferences and a bunch of DFI chairs, like they said, really like there's people from their company really like our conference. Like they want to go every time we have it. I don't know. Like I said, I am biased, right?
Yeah.
But I do think we get great speakers, great projects. They're well vetted. They're across, multiple industries, academia, consultants, contractors. It's a great mix. So,
I think it's great. I mean, it's literally as a role as you have the national conference and then you have S3 and then Superfile. So it's great that we have, I mean, that you guys created or we created that conference. So so hey, thank you very much. Yes, you see, we invested everything on this.
And I think that means you're done. I think
yes,
that's
exactly.
Well, man, it's always fantastic to meet another Hokie, Northern Virginia guy.
It's not, but but you are a great guy. So still like you. But no, thanks for stopping by and sharing all this with us. I think it really gives a good news. So, and as always, I will meet you later. Correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
so far, that's everyone you said.
I know. Well, that's the way I roll. So.
Adult slushies.
Exactly.
Hey, it's Vegas. It's Vegas.
That's right.
All right, and I think we're ready for our next guest, which is Tom Richards, and I think Tom is gonna do a great continuation.
I think we've been running our mouth too much. I think Mary Ellen ran away.
I know. I think she gave up on us.
She had to told me she had to start the other.
Okay.
So maybe she'll come back.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's hope for that. So Tom, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
So
it's good to be here.
Yes, I mean, let's get started. I think we're going on every person that we are interviewing a little bit into, tell us where you were born and how you got into civil engineering or geotech engineering, a little bit about your career. And then we can take it from there and go through all the great things that you have been doing lately.
Go way back. I suppose
Yeah, I know
got
Chris looks like,
interested
no,
in
don't go that far, man.
Civil engineering, playing on a dirt pile with trucks with my neighbor kid. He ended up becoming a carpenter. And then in high school, I went to an architecture summer class and realized how much art there was in architecture, and I wasn't that good of an artist.
Okay.
And the nude model was a bit of a shock. So then I realized I was stronger in sciences than math, so I went into engineering. And I guess somewhere in high school wrote a paper about civil engineering.
Okay.
Kind of decided from looking at those things to go into civil. And then Dr. Carl Lewis, who I think you had as a
At
professor.
the magnificent University of Pittsburgh, because you see, this is turned around. Now it's two Pitt guys against one Virginia Tech guy. So I like this interview better than with Ed. No, Ed, you will always be in my heart, my friend. So,
So
number
Dr.
one, that's what you're saying that I am? All right.
Number one in the playbook.
Sorry. Tom.
And soil mechanics, Dr. Lewis made us think instead of everything being so mathematical in the structures classes.
Yeah.
So, but I still like the structure stuff too. So stayed with both of them.
Excellent. And then once you graduated from Pitt, you went straight into Nicholson, right?
No, I worked for 3 years for a consulting company in Monroeville called GAI
Oh,
Consultants.
no, you're right. Sorry, I completely missed this.
The original owners of that company have a booth here. They're now called the Joy of Gray.
Yes, yeah, I know. Legends
I was afraid to tell Dick Gray that I retired, and I did, because he's still working and he's got to be near 80.
Yeah. So
And I had a plan when I got out of college. So I was going to work for 3 years and try something different.
Mhm.
And I met Donald Bruce at conferences and Pittsburgh ASCE meetings.
Yep.
He said, "Oh, this Nicholson stuff sounds pretty cool." We went to Nicholson.
So what year is this?
Learned something new every day for 32 years.
So what year you started at Nicholson?
1988.
88. Okay. And yeah, I mean, and obviously you did a great career and you have done amazing stuff, and not only for Nicholson, but also for DFI and ASC. I mean, Tom is a legend in the Pittsburgh chapter. I mean, obviously everyone that is in the area knows everything that you have done there. But tell us a little bit about like your career at Nicholson and what were what have been some of the highlights, the most important projects for you.
Well, so pretty early on, we got involved with the Central Artery Tunnel. So this is early 90s, and I did some very cool testing there. We were involved in some upfront testing on anchors, but also on waterproofing anchors, and then worked on several different aspects of that project, including a large excavation right near the airport that moved due to a total stress failure of the toe. It moved a lot. Then we got into investigating it. That was a lot of fun. Doing vein shears, helping the guys do vein shears with a controlled manner.
Mm-hmm.
And then figuring out what to do to fix it. So we did soil mixing on the passive side and put in more rows of anchors.
So okay. So you are doing all this great career at Nicholson, and obviously you are dealing with, like Donald Bruce and different personalities in the industry. And how did you then start being involved in DFI? Who brought you to DFI?
Well, the first meeting I went to was in Dearborn in 1999. I don't remember how. I think by that point, Donald Bruce had moved on to his consulting stuff. And I don't really know what motivated me to come. Seth was probably starting into the trustee type system.
And I think Seth at that time was still Nicholson, right? Because he started in 2005, I think, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. So that's probably the way. And what was your involvement early on DFI? Because I mean, I know you have done everything. So
in the micropile committee, we started working on this guide for drafting a micropile specification. Mm-hmm. And our goal was to cover a lot of
things that weren't really covered in the building codes to kind of get it out there so it was easier to sell, really.
Okay.
We didn't have to debate, are we treating this as a concrete filled pipe pile, or how do we fit in?
Yeah.
And that was probably took a couple of years to get together. So and in the process of that, I became the chairman of the micropile committee.
Okay.
Did that for a few years.
So, and we're talking what, like early 2000s,
Yeah.
2005, before that. Okay.
I don't remember what year we published that guide. So, and then started helping evaluate other documents, just getting involved in the various committees. At that time, ADSC started a micropile committee, and we sat down and made a joint committee pretty early on, which was easy for that committee to join. When it came to the Anchored Earth Retention Committee, there took quite a number of years for those to join. But just getting involved with committees, trying to.
So, I mean, you have been micropile committee, then we have been together in the air retention committee, right? When it was the soil committee, and then evolved into what we have now. What other committee have you served?
Well, the Post-Tensioning
Post-tensioning,
Institute recommendations for soil and rock anchors. And within DFI, I think that's the only committees I was officially on.
And then
I go to a lot of the committee.
Well, you go
meetings
to a lot
just-
of the meetings.
just to
Yeah.
hear what they have
What,
to
what
say.
other roles have you played? I mean, any other positions in
At
DFI?
DFI, well, then Teresa eventually twisted my arm to become a trustee.
Yeah, that's
Initially, so when they talked to me, I said, I'm not a manager. I'm a technical nerd. I don't want to do management type stuff. But eventually she twisted my arm again. And I joined the DFI trustees and did two
what
terms
year
with
is
that.
that?
2012-ish.
Yeah, so now we moved like 10 years ago. Yeah, correct. And that's about when I started at DFI, and I remember you being on that. Then after that, well, I guess you continue to be very involved on everything, right, on DFI, and you received the award, which was 2019, right, in Chicago, when you got the service award, which I thought everyone in the DFI community really enjoyed that you got that recognition, because there is nobody that deserves it more than you for everything that we have trying to recap.
There's a lot of people I was surprised I got ahead of.
And it was a cool trophy, right?
There's still a pretty good list of people who are, in the running for getting that award.
So yeah, then I remember it's a beautiful trophy, and you have a party in Chicago, I think with the folks from Nicholson, right? And I ended up going there, and it was very good. And then now you are moving into something that is very exciting, right? With the new traveling lecture. So how that happen, and what are your plans?
Again, Teresa twisted my arm.
We see some element here, right?
She-
And then I'm thinking, like, how did we end up sitting here? And it goes back to like, well, Teresa called us.
Almost legit. She
Yes.
was looking for a couple almost
Exactly.
legit
Exactly.
male DJs, right? That's basically what we are.
So yeah, so that's
So she just told me what would be involved, and I said, well, let me think about it, and then called her back and said I'd do it. And, had to pick some topics, so I picked 5 topics, and Mandalay Bay here in Vegas is one of them. And it turns out it's one of the most popular ones. So
which Mike was
far.
kind of already making some advertisement for you.
And then second topic available is routing for the Corps of Engineers for like dam rock routing.
Yes.
I did that one in Hershey. That's really the only one I've done so far.
Oh yeah, the one that was in September, right? At the Hershey conference, Central PA.
The other topics on the list are do's and don'ts of pile load tests. I can't remember what number 4 is, and number 5 is working platforms. So the calculations for working platforms, and that's the one I have the most work to do to put the presentation together.
And you're going around the country, basically giving this talk to different.
Mostly it's
groups, right?
ASCE sections,
Mostly ASCE sections.
and sometimes it's right now. I think there's probably more online ones.
Yeah,
because
of
I think ASCE really.
Yeah,
said that.
ASCE this year say that they're keeping it like this, and I think next year they're starting. Yeah, and I mean, I can wait to have you, on the local Geo Institute in Pittsburgh, because that's gonna be a very cool event. And I think Mary Ellen was coordinating.
Yeah, you guys got to tell me what topic you want.
Yes, yeah, we still need to pick. And I think Mary Ellen also wanted to present you again the trophy that you got, because one of the sad things of COVID is we were presenting that as the Geo Institute from Pittsburgh. We were gonna have a little presentation with you, and it was gonna be a nice meeting. I think we were having dinner even at Mary Ellen's home
Yeah,
or
right
something
when it
before,
started,
and it
right
was like the
when
week before, and then all plans were canceled. So I'm sure eventually we'll go back into that. And then one more thing that actually influenced me a lot is that we forgot to mention is that you have contributed a lot to the DFI magazine through the years. And you have put all kind of papers, polemic papers. I mean, in reality. So
Okay, so that's Mary Ellen or
Teresa calling
Helen
again.
or Teresa again, twisting my arm.
But you have put. I mean, you have developed some opinions, but also some based on your experience. I remember one very well about butterflies, and the way that we analyze butterflies, compression, tensions, and things like that. And I mean, those contributions are always there. And it's cool that all the DFI magazine editions are now available online, so we can always look back and use them. So no, that's very well. Thank you very much, Tom, for stopping by for a few minutes here and spending time with us and telling us all about this. And I'm sure everyone is going to be very excited to see when you do the traveling lecture on their time. So yeah.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
All right,
Good to
Tom.
see you.
Nice seeing you.
All right.
Jules, are you ready? All right. Yes, I know, man.
Back to back.
When is the Nicholson check coming?
That was coming with me, right?
Sure, yeah, we can make a
You guys
space.
Are you doing it separately or together?
Let's do it together. So you guys can do the same that Grace and I are doing, which is just share.
Okay. Share my.
Yes,
Nicholson out.
yes, Nicholson hour. We need to talk to.
It can't be an hour because I have a presentation to do. So don't keep me too long.
All right. It all depends if we see somebody else come. Otherwise, we just keep going forever and
Well,
ever.
Liz is ready to go too. We just saw her. She said she was gonna take a walk and come back.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also Mary Ellen ran away because
Yes.
we're not doing a very good job of keeping time.
Your time
Exactly.
management skills are
No,
not the best.
no.
We just talk.
We just exactly.
No.
So well,
Talk to us.
welcome to the show. It's
Thank
great
you.
to have you here. Yeah, so I mean, let's start from the beginning. Why don't the two of you tell us where you were born, how you grew up, and probably in a very short version, but how you got involved in engineering, and yeah, then how you got involved in your current jobs and eventually on the DFI, I guess.
Well, I'll start. I'm Jules Stover. Can you speak up a little? Yeah. I'm a project manager with Nicholson Construction. I'm a Colorado native, so I was born and raised there. I'm huge into rock climbing and all of the things you would think that a Colorado girl would be into, stereotypical camping, climbing, all that good stuff. But I got into the industry back in 2007, following in my dad's footsteps. He was a geologist and worked for the state of Colorado. Did a small stint at Hayward Baker right about the time that I was in college, and I followed right in. And I worked for Hayward Baker for about 6 years, and then transitioned over to Nicholson. We've been there ever since. Dan is definitely part of our group. He's not part of my group. I work for major projects, but Dan and I are tight. So yeah.
Dan was my so he did his master's at Purdue.
Right.
And I was undergrad, so he was the TA for my first so running sieves and all the other stuff and soil mechanics. So
Nice.
Nice. Okay. So I'm Emma Mignall. I'm with Geo Instruments, but I'm out of Rhode Island currently, and I'm from Rhode Island because people that are born and raised in Rhode Island can't leave. It's a legal obligation that you have to stay there forever. Yeah. But yeah. So I do have a background in geology. That was my degree, and I have been in this industry for about 4 years now. And I think I came to one of these events, as directed by Geo Instruments, and then it was,
So when was that? When was the first time that you?
it was actually annual in Anaheim.
Anaheim, so
Yeah.
2000.
So was that 43 maybe?
Yeah,
Annual
probably.
43.
That's the one that Anne was the chair, right? And I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and it was there that I met Mary Ellen, who, in quick order was like, well, you are going to be involved. There's some great opportunities and great people, and you're gonna love it. So,
Yes.
I got more involved at that point, and then jumped in with some of the technical committees in the last year.
I think Anaheim might have been my first annual.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
ask you. I was gonna ask you how did
I
you?
forgot the whole how'd you get involved in the DFI part.
It's okay. We
Yeah,
have
I,
time.
Yeah.
I think that actually may have been mine as well. Or
Yeah.
Maybe the one right before that.
The audience was before, yeah.
Okay, so
Mhm.
New Orleans. I was definitely there.
No, that's great. I go way back with your Pierre.
Oh yeah.
We back even before he had started Geo Instruments, back when I was doing field engineering, probably this is God, it's got to be like 2002, 2003, being on scaffolding in the dark in the CBS headquarters, 3 levels down, trying to mount tilt meters and other stuff because the Second Avenue subway coming through. Man, we're drilling, we're trying to use hammer drills up, laying on our back on scaffolding, everything coming down in our face. Yeah, that was so. Pierre's always been a fun guy to work with.
Yeah, he definitely is. He knows so much that it's always an experience to work with him because he has stories on fun stories. It's great.
So then you guys got involved in DFI. I mean, obviously you attend the conference, as we said, and you thought that it was pretty cool. But then, what kind of make you think, well, I mean, I not only want to attend the conference, but I want to maybe be part of a committee and things like that. I mean, how was that process?
Well, for me, I think it was very much like Emma. I met a few key people, Mary Ellen, one of them, Peggy Haggerty Duffy is another one of them. Lucky is one as well, and just kind of realized there was a community for this. So it started for me with the Women in Deep Foundations Committee, and then as my career grew, I kind of specialized in building diaphragm walls. I wanted to be on the slurry wall committee, and then I started building a ton of diaphragm walls for tunneling. So then I joined the tunneling committee, and so it kind of expanded. Yeah, it started to expand the more experience I got. But I think that my first foray was really in with the Women in Deep Foundations because there's such a good support system there that I didn't really ever know or have like in my own company before. And I saw all of these other women and people kind of like doing these great things outside of their own organizations, and I wanted to do something like that for myself. So I latched onto a few of them and asked a lot of questions and just started getting involved. Now I'm more involved than I've ever been before.
They make it fairly easy to get involved.
You get voluntold all of a sudden. It goes from volunteering to voluntold.
That's it.
Yeah. So how was for you?
Yeah, it was really, along the same lines that once I got involved with the Women in Deep Foundations, they are so invested in helping you grow professionally that they're like, oh, let's talk to these people. Let's talk to those people. This committee might be a great fit for you. And I think you could do good things. And, we were lucky to have the sustainability committee come in and talk to us one meeting. And I was, passionate about that personally. So I started with that committee recently. And, so it's only growing. I'm only in 3 now, but it's like Pokemon. Like, do you have to catch them
It's
all?
like
Is that
trading
possible?
cards. Yeah, it's like a Pokemon.
Thing.
Yeah.
Catch them all. Yeah. DFI Pokemon.
I don't want to be in all of them.
Yeah, maybe next year. We'll see.
No, I mean it's the enthusiasm though, right?
Yes.
As I've become more involved in DFI, that I've definitely seen that it's not just people volunteering to be on a committee so that they can write somewhere on their LinkedIn page that they're a member.
Yeah,
of a committee.
It's more like
people that want to
be part of
to
those
make
things.
the industry.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's crazy how passionate everyone is.
Yeah.
Like you don't walk into a room and find someone that has no opinion. It's just sitting there. They all have, plans and ideas and
Something to contribute.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
So tell us more about the Women in Deep Foundation committee and what cool things are going on.
Well, without being able to meet in person for a while, there was so much activity in the group, which is really great. We've started a mentoring system within the committee itself, which we call pod mentoring, because instead of being one-on-one, we have, maybe 4 or 5 people in a group. So it's actually taking someone that's starting their career and then, someone in each maybe section of their career above it up to someone who's been maybe 25 years in the industry. So you can, get advice from someone who's been through it all, and maybe they can get advice the other way. So it's really nice to have that system in place, and that's started earlier this summer. We've also been focusing on promoting our members within the group. So just getting to know a little bit more in depth one member each meeting. So we know
that's
them.
a great idea.
Yeah,
It's very cool.
That's very
yeah.
good.
It's good to know people that way. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's definitely great. And then also recognizing women in engineering, women in the industry, not in the committee, but that have come before us and their contributions. So that's been a fun theme that Lucky has been going through with some of the meetings. So
that's pretty cool. What are the main challenges or obstacles in some respect that you guys have identified? And I think one of the topics that has been for a while discussed is the retention. Retention of women in our industry, just because as their career evolve, some may just move more into management and maybe don't still get connected, and obviously, some maybe once they start having a family or something like that, they don't have the time. So I don't know. I mean, what have you guys seen that is something that probably it's important to identify and start trying to to improve and provide more tools and provide more opportunities?
So to the retention thing, I mean, the retention thing is a big issue. And I think more than anything, what the Women in Deep Foundations has done, at least industry right now, is given a support system for all of the women that participate in DFI. And I think what is really, really cool is that all of these members within DFI who are part of this group are now taking these ideas and these concepts and then taking them back to their own companies, right? And so what really helps retention is not feeling like you're alone, right? Because the isolation feeling for a woman, we're one of a few most of the time, like not feeling like you have anybody to talk to or any kind of like people to, I've been through that kind of thing. It is drives sometimes this like fall off. So the fact that these women who are engaged in DFI have then gone back to their own companies and started these same types of programs to support their own female employees. Our WIDFI group is, maybe 40 members, but those 40 members work in companies of however many different employees. And you might have one woman who participates in DFI as a single person and then go back to your own firm, and then you just touch 30 more women, right? And we can spread these ideas of support and the way that we're trying to advance career development opportunities and share skill building opportunities, even to like operate in the world we currently live in, or hopefully change that world for the better in the future, right? So here's some things that we can all learn from. So I think that that's one thing that the Women in Deep Foundations group has really succeeded on. It's just proliferating these messages into private companies.
Honestly, like if that's the only thing you guys succeed, that's a
that's already
change.
Exactly.
Right? So I mean, that's really good stuff. Yeah, I mean, my career, some of the best engineers I've had work for me, and they were tough and outside the box, and they were on. Construction sites are not always the easiest. I mean,
no, yeah,
you could be a guy in a construction site, and depending on where you're at. I mean, maybe in New York's different than Georgia, or just people's temperaments and everything.
Even just where you're at in your career, young
even
men
when you're
coming out of school, kind of
they
being the low man on the totem pole.
Yes, correct.
It's all this.
Correct. Yeah. So I guess, I was on the committee yesterday, on the committee meeting, and I hear some great ideas of what is going on in terms of the initiatives that you're having, and one that I really like. It sounds like a small thing, but I think it's great because it's the recognition, is the like the PPE, and saying that just because you give a woman a small size PPE, that doesn't mean that it fits, right? I mean, there has to be it has to be some recognition of that, and like, well, it's not the same, right? And it has to be some value on that. And I say it's a little thing because we're just talking about like some PPE, but I think it means a lot.
It's not a little thing, though.
It is not. It's not. I mean,
to keep us safe.
It could be seen initially as a little thing, but I think it has a lot of weight and it has a lot of relevance. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my hot button issues, because as a woman who spends most of my time in the field, having things that don't fit is a safety issue. So you're giving me a safety garment that is actually contributing to an unsafe situation when it doesn't fit properly.
Right.
So the steps that our group is making with ADSC, the Women in Construction Roundtable with ADSC, is doing amazing things to move this forward. And we actually are in talks with manufacturers to like actually redesign a woman's line of PPE. Just because you stick an elastic band on the back of something too big for us doesn't mean that that's, safe,
but it's also
looks good. Like nobody wants to wear that.
No, but okay. So and that's the part that
oh
I'm
my
going
god,
to.
I would rip that elastic band off and choke someone with it.
I mean, I know you say safety obviously is the most important thing, but I also think that is the looking good. I mean, it's like what college football players say, or basketball players. It's like looking good makes you play better. You
look good, you feel good.
Exactly, you need to feel good, and I think in some respect would be even a little disrespectful, that is like you're just giving a safety vest that is like, okay, just
it's
take
a
this.
credibility thing too, because when something fits you properly, you
look
look like you belong there. When you hand a young woman a vest that's like, hey, this is all we got, it's a medium, but it looks like she's borrowing her big brother's safety vest.
Exactly.
It's harder for for the other people on the crew, men, women, other, to just look at her and be like, you belong here. You know? It's just advantage from the start.
And it's the message of, you know, like I think when it's like when it's given like that, it's more like you adapt to this, right? I mean, it's like this
we don't
is the
have anything
standard,
else
you
because we
adapt.
didn't think about
Exactly.
the fact that we would be hiring people that aren't this prototype.
Exactly.
Right?
So no, I think that that's a pretty cool initiative. But tell us more about other initiatives. I mean, you talk about the mentoring part, and is there anything else that you want to share that you guys are working on?
I think, you know, the professional development grants are something that's,
Yes, let's talk
that's
a little
always
bit about
great
that,
to, you know, have. Of course, you know, last night, or I'm not remembering how long I've even been here, but when we had the networking
I think
event,
it was last night.
That was last night.
how long have I been? Having that event where we can recognize those women that got that professional development grants, and they were able
So
to.
how many professional grants were given? Yes, I mean I know the answer, but I just wanted
Yeah.
to say it.
I believe we had 3 that went out yesterday.
I think so, but then we also have the ones from last year.
Last year.
Because
Yeah.
they were in the virtual conference.
It's a COVID year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely great to be able to be in person and to, you know, to interact with the people that got those grants.
Yes. No, absolutely. Well, no, thank you very much for
Yeah,
coming
thanks
and
for
spending
having
some time with us. I think it was very great conversations, and keep up the good work you guys
this
are
is
doing.
phenomenal.
I think I'm gonna feel bad tonight when I go to it thinking that each one of you are like in 3 committees and I'm only on 1 committee, you know. And so, but yeah,
Step it up.
yeah, exactly. I need to clearly step it up. But no, but
Stop wasting your time here.
yes,
What
exactly.
are we doing?
Stop doing this almost legit thing and
Almost
do
legit,
a proper
right.
thing that is benefits. So no, thank you very much for coming, and I mean, obviously we'll see you around the conference, and keep doing what you're doing. This is very
Alright.
meaningful. So
Thank you.
Thank you
Alright.
so much.
bye. Liz, are you ready for us? Well, I think the question is more if we are ready for you,
Yeah. Well,
because this is about to get good.
Look at these fancy microphones.
that's
know.
it. No, this is a legit operation.
It is. Well, we keep saying that it's so good that it's almost legit. It looks almost legit. It's so good that it looks almost.
All 3 of the microphones were working.
They work.
Well, no, it looks what?
Oh, that's
It's-
true.
It's looking so good
That's all.
that
It
it's
is.
almost legit.
Well, no,
Oh.
we were almost. We had 3 microphones.
What?
So like now we're only down to 2 microphones.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
true.
that's
That's true.
true.
Before we have 3 microphones, we lost one. So.
Yeah.
What happened to the other one?
We don't know.
It
We
was
will-
probably fate's way of telling me I shouldn't be here with a microphone. in my face,
Could
right?
be.
So it
Could
didn't
be.
want to work. So now I'm sharing Sebastian.
Exactly.
Ah.
But we are so
this is
close that it's not a
mine.
problem.
That's yours.
And it is right in the middle of your face. If you want to turn it to the side a little bit.
Oh, is somebody watching? I thought it was.
I
Oh,
think
yeah,
we have
we're-
2 million people watching.
We have
us, Liz.
we have 2 million
Yes.
viewers right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Oh my
They
gosh.
keep
Last
getting
check
us
it was
feedback.
million.
Yeah.
I didn't check my makeup. I need lipstick.
Well, the resolution of our camera is not even that good, so
turn it
you're
that
good.
Oh, okay. You do you. I'll just sit here and.
All right, Liz. So I guess let's
Thank you for
get it
joining
started.
us.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Sorry, we're running a little late. We've been pretty much since our first guest off on time all day, so we apologize.
Well, that's okay.
Yes.
I went and watched the funny videos that the FHWA is showing.
Oh, there you go. Well, Mary Ellen ran away.
Mary Ellen ran away from you.
Well, she ran away because we were
I
weren't paying
think
very
our
close
time
attention to
management
time.
has not
Time
been the
management.
best.
There you go.
Yes. So
Oh, well. sounds
basically,
like-
we just keep talking until we see somebody is waiting for us, and then we do the switch. So,
Oh,
I mean,
oh,
can you
oh.
imagine when we're done with this today, how many emails we're gonna have from Ash in Australia? Like, what are you guys doing here,
Yes,
right? That's gonna be-
exactly. So,
So
but
what are
anyway,
we doing here?
so yeah,
We're
let's
hanging out.
start. So we're hanging out, and we are, I guess, we're talking about different people that are, giving us different phases of DFI.
You're
right?
talking about different people? That's really not nice.
Well,
No, actually,
we're-
the only one we're still talking about is how Mike McGettigan still has a lot.
Yes,
of gray
he's the
hair.
only one
He's
that
the
we
only
keep
one we're
talking
talking about.
Okay, good.
we're talking
Right.
with different people.
Yes.
So yes, so
I was like, oh, Mike McGettigan, he used to work for us.
yes. He
Yep.
did mention that,
Yeah.
and he actually thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, and say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you guys sponsor all the
He was,
business development.
he
that
thanked
did.
me for nodding my head positively and not nodding it. asleep.
So, but I guess let's go back organized. Let's try to keep this
Oh,
in a
sorry.
trail.
You're trying to stay
So-
focused?
Focus. Yes, that's the word. So yeah, so I think the way that we have been started is, I mean, obviously everyone in the world know who you are, but we have to do it with every single guest. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you were born and how you started, how you end up in engineering, or how you end up in geotech, and how your career evolved, and then at the end, how you end up being involved in DFI.
Oh, gosh. Can I just tell him to read the
the article that's in Geostrata.
I know. Man, you have, yes,
We can skip all of that and move forward.
Yes, exactly. And you have been doing presentations
The
too.
March-April issue of Geostrata magazine.
Well, and actually now you can have a video because they start. Remember IFCE? We did those GOP talks, right?
Oh,
And they start coming into YouTube now.
did they?
So
They recorded my pit
they
talk?
recorded all, and I think
My pit talk?
yes, mine
This
was
is your famous.
yes. So mine I think came out yesterday, and I think they're putting
That
one
was
a
a
week.
hard pit talk. That was really.
But I
hard.
think you did a really good job. I mean, you really make us the
I-
rest of
I
us
remember
look
I
very
was
well.
sitting-
So
I was sitting on the stage like this, and then I went, "Wait, why am I? I can own this," and I sat up straight. It's like partway through, I realized I just kind of because it was hard to talk about.
yes,
And
and
when something's hard to talk about, you kind of want to crunch into yourself and like, okay, thankfully they're mostly my friends in the room, and I'm telling the story.
but it was. I mean, it was very. I don't know if personal is the right word because it sounds weird, but it was personal in the sense that
It was very
you
personal.
completely open and you share your story, right?
Yeah.
And you say this is what it is for good and for bad. You know, you're not
This
trying
is what
to.
happened,
Yes,
and
exactly.
this is how I dealt with it. And
Correct.
you can't, we had this discussion at the Women Deep Foundation meeting.
Mhm.
Was that just yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Oh my
It seems
gosh.
that everyone is losing
What is
track of
today,
time.
I don't
Today
even
is
know what-
Wednesday.
Is today
Because when you
Wednesday?
go into a hotel and you never leave,
Yes, that's true. And
You
you never
don't-
know if it's day or night
day
or,
or night, or
and when you
it's
drink a lot, it doesn't help. Like in my
Well,
case, but yeah,
yeah.
that's beyond the point.
Well,
Well, they
in
didn't-
fairness, most hotels that we go into for these sorts of things don't have roulette tables right down the hall. So I mean, it's you'll be all right.
yeah,
You'll
yeah.
survive.
What were we talking about?
No, we were talking about your GOP talk because it was good and there are a couple moments that I remember. I mean, obviously when you're wearing through what makes you a badass person, right? And
That was
and-
the end, yeah.
yeah, so the end I think it was good. I think you were getting close to the end, and then the person that was working the IT gave you like they were very specific when they contact us for the GOP, right? And they said you only have 12 minutes and you cannot extend more than 12 minutes.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not done yet.
Yes, so the person came. The
What?
person came very like careful, and he was saying like 2 more minutes, and then Liz have the paper and like, dude, I have like 3 pages here, so it's not gonna happen in 2 minutes. So you
Right.
better chill out, man.
Yeah.
And keep recording.
Get over
because-
yourself.
I'm not done talking about this. This is hard enough to talk about.
Yes, exactly.
So go sit down.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, obviously, it's coming on YouTube, and I'm sure Brad is gonna be super happy that we're talking about because
Yeah.
even though we're in DFI, we're doing a lot of good publicity for ASC and Geo.
Yes, and you
Institute.
can find all my Geo Institute traveling lectures on YouTube as well.
Exactly, and then we also have. I mean, I absolutely,
promotion's
I
fantastic.
absolutely encourage people if they're. I don't think anyone in the world is not familiar with you, but if they are not, they can literally just go to YouTube, type your name, and there is a lot of great content that has been coming in the last year, I would say.
Yeah,
So
it's like
yeah.
what I don't know. All of a sudden, kind of weird.
I know. I think it's part of the pandemic too. That is, I mean, it's like there is so many people, great people like you that have the time, right? And then there is.
I don't
this-
have the time.
No,
You don't have the time. We believe you have the time, but
you're definitely touching on something there, though, right?
yeah, which is
People travel less in general. People travel
and
less.
it's easy to do these
Right.
things because you can connect from home, right? I
Right.
mean, you are not traveling, you are home.
Right, right.
And if somebody say, hey, can you connect at 6 p.m.?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, you look very bad if you say no. I mean, it's like, yeah, sure, I'll connect and we can record something.
Oh, Brad's been harassing me about doing another
Oh, really?
GI presentation. And I'm like, dude, I gave 4 last month.
Wow.
I'm giving a couple more this month. And I'm giving, look, my eyes starting to twitch. Brad, it's your fault.
Yes, we're blaming Brad for all kind of psychological
Okay,
damage.
so now we're
here.
talking about Mike and Brad. Okay, so we got 2 people
Okay.
we're still talking about.
But we love DFI.
Yes, yeah, I don't know. We became Geostrata and ASC. I'm sure Brad is like, this is awesome. I'm not even paying this guy. So, but
But
no,
you know that both of us are not for profit anyway. So.
we are for profit here. We're getting paid big dollars here.
Yeah,
This is a legit
I
show.
meant DFI is not.
Oh.
No, we're not getting
No, after having guests like you on, we're renegotiating.
Yes,
also.
we are
Our-
absolutely in the
Our
renegotiation.
street
of our
cred's gone
contract.
up
Yes,
considerably. today.
exactly,
Our
exactly.
time management.
We're having here a draft with Chris about how we are going to approach Teresa, and we want an increase.
So what
Yeah.
else did you want to talk about?
Well, let's talk.
I'm not going to tell you about I was
You're
born.
not telling me
I know.
anything. So let's talk about. Okay, let's talk about something interesting. Let's talk about DFI. since they're sponsoring all this, and Jessica is saying DFI.
How did I get
DFI,
involved
so
in DFI?
how you got involved? Yeah. It's gonna be the same story. Teresa, contact me and say, do you
No,
want to involve?
No, it was because there was a meeting somewhere and I wanted to go.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I think I volunteered for a committee. And
I
said,
am the super
I need to
nerd
be
the
on this
meetings.
committee. Actually, the first presentation I ever gave for DFI was when I was on my KC Icon project.
What
It-
city do you get?
Kansas City.
Kansas
This
City,
was in
okay.
Kansas City. And we wrote a paper about the test pile program that we did.
Mhm.
And it was really funny because I was second on the agenda and Dan Brown talked first. And he mentioned the construction team, but he gave the wrong contractors. And I said, I'm really happy to say that I can correct Dan Brown.
Right.
Yeah, that's quite a
doesn't happen
statement.
very
Yeah,
often.
very
Yes.
often.
And I will right now. It was funny. No, that was the first.
So you really start like presenting before being involved on different
Actually,
things, right?
before that, when I was in San Diego, and we left San Diego in 2002, there was a conference in San Diego. I was supposed to be the local conference chair.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
And I was like, sorry, I'm moving. And we moved to Texas.
Got it.
And so, yeah, that
All
didn't
right.
work.
All right.
But yeah, but DFI has been great. I mean, I have a lot of friends in DFI and I love our Women in Deep Foundations
Yes.
group. You see,
I got mine on.
you
They,
got
I have to get one, I guess.
no,
I got one, but I left it at home.
shame.
Your lack
Shame.
of sparkle.
Your
speaks
lack of
volumes.
bling
Yeah,
is-
speaks
I
volumes.
had
Man.
one at home. I just forgot. to
I
bring
know,
it.
you know, and I bought probably at least 4 of them. And
I
then
just keep it in my backpack.
I thought one
That's
was,
really
no, I
easy.
thought one was lost and then I found it. So I put it in my bag.
Yep.
And then the last meeting I had 2 and then somebody said, I forgot mine. And I went, I happen to have an extra one.
There you go.
I think it was lucky. Did I give you that lanyard last year?
It's
Yeah,
that
I
one. All
was
right.
lucky.
All right.
I was
Lucky,
like, I
could you-
gave
could-
that
could you
to-
go ahead and mail one to
Yeah.
Sebastian because he doesn't have one.
She's like, I have it right here.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Excellent.
Oh,
Excellent.
yeah, we were gonna
This
shame
is my
him into
this
it.
is my payment for 3 hours of interviews on DFI. So
That's it.
So, you know,
You're hurting our
nobody
leverage.
in my family, so my parents,
Thank you,
neither of
Loki.
my parents went to college.
okay.
Oh, okay.
They were both immigrants.
Oh, really? Where are we?
From where?
My mom was German.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess she still is. She's
Sure.
a naturalized American.
Got it.
My dad was born in Brooklyn and, but his family was Italian.
Okay.
From Sicily.
Got it.
Okay.
And my grandmother died when my dad was 4.
Oh,
And so he was sent back to Sicily and he lived with his grandmother and her other children. So he was 12 when when my grandfather saved enough money to have my dad come back.
Yeah.
Got it.
Of course, by that time he was remarried and had 4 more kids, but,
Right.
wow.
and they put my dad in 1st grade because he didn't speak English.
Okay.
So both of my parents were not English speakers, first language.
Mhm.
But at the end of World War II, so I mean, they met in Germany in World War II.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very popular after World War II to be German or Italian.
Yeah.
You know,
I
that
can
kind of
feel that.
That's
fascist
fair.
block, you know,
Yep.
the axis of evil.
Yes.
Great.
So
I
growing
cannot
up,
hold.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
They're going to start
worries.
playing. The band's going to start playing soon.
oh,
We can
Um,
keep talking just louder.
yeah.
So you were
So,
saying.
so we
they
didn't
put it on
grow up
first
speaking
grade.
either language except for English,
Okay.
Ah.
which
okay.
is disappointing
Okay.
to say that. I mean, you know, think about it. I could have been fluent in German and Italian, except my
Yes.
dad didn't speak German and my mom didn't speak Italian.
Right.
Yeah.
So they had to speak English to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can appreciate that though. My grandfather was born in Ireland and came over, and I've actually been
But they
able to.
speak English
Well, yeah, but
of a
absolutely.
sort.
No, they speak well, not Gaelic, right?
Right.
So what
That's
I've
why I said of
gained-
a sort.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's not even of a sort of English, but they right? So I've been able to gain Irish citizenship through my,
Oh,
through my
really? That's great.
grandfather.
Oh,
So
see, I've been working on doing that.
so I
It's
hold
just,
2 citizenships, but now I'm like working backwards, trying to learn Gaelic at the age of 45, and I'm like, well, it's not that easy, but
yeah.
It's
Well, it's funny because I've forgotten more German,
right,
because my grandmother lived with us
right.
when I was growing up.
Mhm.
But my mom, so, you ask, how do you become an engineer? And so neither of my parents went to college.
Right.
And my dad was career force. I'm the youngest of 6 kids. So my
Right.
mom was a mom. That's,
Yep.
but her whole thing, she's being German. She always wanted to be, she had to do everything efficiently. So she tried to come up with the most efficient ways to, it's total German, right? Do the laundry
Yes.
and get the laundry
Yeah,
hung up and,
optimize.
she had a very efficient system growing up. Monday she did laundry, Tuesday she did it, and Wednesday
Absolutely.
she was a choir director. She had choir practice, so we always had pasta on Wednesday and fish on Friday, and it was always very
Absolutely.
regimented and stuff. But so when I was in we called it junior high back then.
Mhm.
Junior high, I tried taking art for an elective.
How did that?
If I could draw straight lines, I was good. But the paper mache stuff was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not super artistic. So then I took home ec and I realized my mom already taught me how to do all this stuff.
Right.
And the teacher really, I don't know how old she is, but I think I know all of this and then
Better than
some.
her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Got it.
So so my 3rd year I took shop.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And I was the only girl in shop. Now this was in the 70s. So girls didn't take shop.
Right.
And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And we had to learn drafting.
Mm.
And then we had
Absolutely.
to do isometric drawings and
Yeah,
stuff like
isometric
that.
drawings, technical
And
drawings.
my shop teacher said, you need to be an engineer. I had never heard the word engineer.
Yep.
Because I thought, well, I'm going to have to be a doctor or a lawyer
Oh, okay.
if I wanted to be a professional.
Right.
And he's the first person who said,
Be an
you need to be an engineer.
Got it.
And so I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then I knew I wanted to go to Virginia Tech because I grew up in Virginia.
God, you guys are kidding me again, Virginia Tech.
Hey,
Very biased, this guy about Virginia Tech,
I
but
am.
that's okay. It's okay. It's an okay school. I like
it's fantastic.
it. No, it's a great school. It's a great
And
school.
if you
Great
watched the
people coming
game
out.
against Notre Dame last week, it was
Well,
awesome.
I hear the
Yeah.
game
They
against
won
Pitt
in the
this
last
weekend is gonna be
10
better.
seconds. It was like
Yeah.
phenomenal.
So yeah, but no, go ahead. Sorry, I
Um,
interrupted.
So anyway, he said engineering to me. And so I went ahead through high school and, took the science and the math and all this.
Sure.
And I applied to Virginia Tech early decision and got accepted. I didn't apply anywhere else. I only applied
Okay.
to Tech because I was like, I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to go to Tech.
There you go.
Wow.
And I thought I wanted to be a nuclear engineer.
Right.
So at this point, it's 1981
How close was this to 3 Mile Island?
for Virginia.
No, I'm saying like nuclear engineering.
I don't
Yeah.
remember. Anyway, so now you got me all goofed up again. So I went to Virginia Tech as a junior in high school, I think. They had some program. I don't even know how I got picked for this.
Right.
But it was through the agricultural engineering, right?
Ah, okay.
So we had like a weekend or a couple of days on campus. I don't remember how I even got there. But we got to campus and we stayed at some professor's house, and there were 2 girls staying in this professor's house, and we spent the weekend and they toured us around, and I had never seen a pig up close. So they took us out to the dairy barns, and I'm like, I just went, it looks like it's wearing high heels because their little feet look like
And now you're an engineer.
no, and they were like, yeah, she's not gonna be an Aggie. So I wanted to be a nuclear engineer, and then I realized you needed like more of that chemistry. And
Got it.
so I decided civil was for me. And I got really lucky. I co-opted with the Corps of Engineers and focused on geotech somehow or another.
Okay, so that exposed you to geotech. That was like the
Yes.
first time you saw geotech.
Yep. And so that's how I ended up in geotech, and I stayed. I was the only woman in my graduate class, so they Title IX was very good to me. They gave me money to continue on and get my master's degree.
Awesome. No, that's a great story. And then I mean, I think after that, it's the one that we have with Geostrata, right? I mean, people can go, and then not with Geostrata, with the IFC, the GeoPit talk, and everyone can go and watch it. I think we're running out of time,
Oh,
unfortunately.
that's too bad.
Yes. Do you have time tomorrow that we can continue this?
Sure.
So, I mean, why don't we stop here for today? And then tomorrow we can resume here, which is basically when you
So we
finish
can talk
college.
about mentoring, or
And then we can talk about all the
Talk
great
about it.
things
Yep.
about mentoring, because I mean, definitely that's something that we want to explore with you, because I think you
Right.
represent a lot in the industry on mentoring and a role model for many people.
Yeah, well,
know.
I didn't really have any female mentors.
Yes, and that's something that you mentioned before, and I mean, obviously we learned from, I guess
But I had
mistakes from
some good
others.
mentors anyway.
Yes,
you
I'm
know.
sure. Yeah, because you can find mentors.
Well, and none of them were
different ways.
formal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not like a professional mentor in a company, but maybe people that you learn. So, I mean, it would be
Right.
awesome to talk about.
Colleagues and friends.
Yes, and people that influence you in the industry, and definitely we can go also into like the DFI part and how everything you are doing now it's helping on that, and
Oh,
what
yeah.
you represent for DFI, and and for the new generation that is coming and seeing you,
Yeah.
right, and thinking it is. I mean, it is possible, and it's not a dream of in 20 years, 30 years. It's more like it is here today, and you are the example of that, and there are other examples. So I think it's important that we do that tomorrow. So
Absolutely.
let's just cut it for today, and then we can start tomorrow. You like that? Is
Works
that
for
is that cool, Jessica? All right.
Okay,
Excellent.
cool. See
Thank
you
you.
tomorrow.
Thank
See
you
you
so much
tomorrow.
for joining.
Yes, absolutely.
All
Oh,
right.
we will be all dressed up, right? Because it's right before the awards.
Awards,
So
yeah.
it's gonna make us look
Oh,
even better.
yes.
More
yes.
legit, man. More legit.
More legit.
All right. So we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay,
Excellent.
sounds great.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks. Did we talk too much and everybody else left?
No. The problem is that they're gonna have
They're
the
going
one.
to start the band playing here,
Oh.
Yeah. So then the noise.
and then we're done.